Chapter 313 The Great Sun Young Master's outcome was the same as the Thunder Young Master. He was slapped to the ground by the Fire Cloud Lion and could not get up. At this time, the Yin Yang Young Master had already escaped from the hall and disappeared. As the leader of the 6 young masters, the Yin Yang Young Master was superior to the other 5 young masters in terms of strength and speed. Yixing did not let the Fire Cloud Lion continue to pursue. The Yin Yang Young Master might have some trump card to escape. Since the other party had escaped, Yixing did not pursue. He let the Fire Cloud Lion block the exit of the spiritual weapon hall. In this way, the martial artists in the spiritual weapon hall would not be able to leave. No one would be able to break through the line of defense of the level 3 demonic beast. Yixing let the Fire Cloud Lion block the exit. His goal was clear. He wanted to kill all the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, Mysterious Underworld sect, and Blue Thunder sect in one fell swoop. In the spiritual weapon hall, the disciples of the Tian Luo sect, Spirit Moon sect, Holy Wind sect, and Blood Ghost sect were all shocked. On the other hand, the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the Dark Underworld sect, and the Green Thunder sect were all terrified. Yixing's gaze swept across the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, Mysterious Underworld sect, and Blue Thunder sect. He said, "Tell me, how should I deal with you?" The disciples of the 3 sects looked at each other and looked at Yixing with fear. Yang Kuan clenched his fists and said, "Yixing, you are using a level 3 demonic beast to bully the disciples of the 4 northern sects. Do you know what you will face when you leave the Azure Cloud Ancient Land? What consequences will there be?" At this moment, they could only rely on the strength of their sections. Yixing smiled faintly and said, "What consequences?" Yang Kuan wanted to say domineeringly that the perfected elders of the 4 northern sects would tear him into pieces and burn his bones to ashes. However, looking at Yixing's faint smile, Yang Kuan instinctively felt danger. He had threatened Yixing once, but the consequences were terrible. Yang Kuan took a deep breath and said, "Aren't you afraid of being punished by the enlightened elders of my Sun Moon sect, Profound Underworld sect, and Azure Thunder sect?" At the mention of their sects, the disciples of the 3 sects straightened their backs, and their expressions became much calmer. Yixing said, "The elders of the sect are all immortal masters. Which one of them is not a famous figure? Who would lower their status and shamelessly interfere in the fight of the younger generation in the Qingyun ancient land? Our Falling Stars sect is upright and upright. We don't have such immortal masters. I believe that the 4 northern sects don't have such immortal masters either." Regardless of whether the other party's veritable personage elders wanted to make a move or not, Yixing would use his words against them first. Whoever made a move would be shameless. The elders of the sect were no longer young and frivolous. They cared about status and face. As long as Yixing did not take the lives of the disciples of the 3 sects, even if the other party's veritable personage elders were unhappy, they had to consider their face and had no reason to be angry. When the younger generation disciples lost in the fight, they could only regain their dignity. If they suffered a little setback, the immortal masters would jump out to support them. Not to mention the immortal master's face, the younger generation disciples relied on their elders for everything. They would definitely be nurtured like flowers in a greenhouse, and it would be difficult for them to become great talents. Besides, the 4 northern sects were powerful, but the 6 southern sects were not ants. They were all 1-star forces. Although there was a gap in strength, the gap was limited. The 4 northern sects could look down on the 6 southern sects, but they absolutely could not ignore the 6 southern sects. Unless there was a life and death grudge, otherwise, the 4 northern sects would not dare to casually crush any of the 6 southern sections. If it really came to the point of life and death, the 6 southern sects may not be able to protect themselves, but as long as the immortal masters of the 6 southern sects were not wiped out, the 4 northern sects' days would be very difficult. Therefore, the relationship in the Qingyun region was very delicate. The 4 northern sects were strong, and the 6 southern sects avoided them, but the strength was not tilted to the point that the strong side could wipe out the weak side at will. As a result, there was a set of rules to restrict each other. As long as the fight between the younger generation was not a life-and-death grudge, the elders of the sect would not intervene. If anyone intervened, they would break the rules and arouse public indignation. Otherwise, if someone took the lead, other sects would follow suit. The survival space of the younger generation martial artists would be greatly reduced. Moreover, the conflict between the younger generation martial artists would also expand and become a conflict between sections. The entire Qingyun region would be in chaos. In a mess, even the strong side could not guarantee a sure win. Once the foundation of the sect was shaken, even the powerful sect would decline or even be destroyed. Of course, if there was a life-and-death grudge, it was another matter. A debt must be paid with money, and a life for a life. This was a matter of fairness. There was no distinction between elders and juniors. Yixing's words made Yang Kuan's face very ugly. The momentum that he had just accumulated suddenly weakened by 30%. Yang Kuan was very clear that although the Sun Moon sect was strong, the elders of the sect were really unlikely to intervene because of the fight between the younger generation disciples. Yang Kuan forced himself to calm down and tried to hide his fear, saying, "Even if the elders do not intervene, you have to think clearly. After leaving the Qingyun ancient land, the grand competition of the 10 sects will be held. Now, you are just relying on the power of the demonic beast to defeat the few young masters. In terms of strength, you are far from them. You can think about what you will face in the grand competition of the 10 sects. If you know what's good for you, let us all go. Otherwise, you will suffer in the grand competition of the 10 sects." Yixing thought for a while and said, "If you didn't remind me, I would have forgotten. In the grand competition of the 10 sects, demonic beasts are not allowed to participate. I have to fight with the few young masters. I have already offended them. In the grand competition of the 10 sects, they will definitely not let me go. So, why should I let you all go?" Yixing's words made Yang Kuan stunned. However, after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Yin Yang Young Master, Great Sun Young Master, Thunderbolt Young Master, and Dark Nether Young Master already hated Yixing to the core. Would they let him go in the grand competition of the 10 sects just because he was a disciple of the 3 sects? Impossible. Since it was impossible, then why didn't Yixing offend them even more? Why was there a need to let the disciples of the 3 sects go? Yixing's expression turned cold as he said, "I've always done things fairly. If people respect me, I'll respect them. If people offend me, I'll also return the favor. Just now, our Falling Star sect's disciples were either seriously injured or kneeling on the ground. I'll return it to you all intact. Either kneel, or, the Fire Cloud Lion will help you lie down." The expressions of the Sun Moon sect, Dark Nether sect, and Azure Thunder sect's disciples all changed. In front of the 6 southern sect's disciples, they were high and mighty, full of a sense of superiority. But now, Yixing wanted them to kneel. Previously, when Dark Nether Young Master made the Falling Star sect's disciples kneel, they did not feel anything. Now that he wanted them to kneel, only then did they know how humiliating it was. "Impossible, we won't kneel even if we die," someone roared furiously. Yixing's gaze was cold as he said, "If you don't want to kneel, then lie down." Sigh. Brother Yi. Yixing was about to order the Fire Cloud Lion to put them all down when young Master Tian Luo spoke. Young Master Tian Luo had once spoken up for the Falling Star sect's disciples. Although he did not help much, Yixing was still grateful. Yixing looked at young Master Tian Luo and said, "What's the matter, young Master Tian Luo?" Young Master Tian Luo said, "I have a presumptuous request." Just now, young Master Thunder and the Azure Thunder sect's disciples did not hurt or humiliate the Falling Star sect's disciples. I hope Brother Yi can give me face and forget about it. Yixing nodded and said, All right, Azure Thunder Sect's disciples, listen up. For the sake of young Master Tian Luo, the matter of you capturing my falling star sect's disciples will be written off. Go. Yes, yes. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you, young Master Tian Luo. The Azure Thunder Sect's disciples hurriedly thanked him. Lei Yun helped young Master Thunder up and led the Azure Thunder Sect's disciples out of the spiritual weapon palace. Brother Yi, thank you. Young Master Tian Luo nodded at Yixing and said, Disciples of the Sun Moon Sect and the Dark Underworld Sect, please leave. Those who have nothing to do with it, please leave. Don't be a hindrance here. The Sun Moon Sect and the Dark Underworld Sect were Tian Luo Sect's enemies. Young Master Tian Luo naturally would not plead for them. After he finished speaking, he led the Tian Luo Sect's disciples out of the spiritual weapon palace. The disciples of the Spirit Moon Sect, the Holy Wind Sect, and the Blood Underworld Sect did not dare to stay. They followed behind the Tian Luo Sect's disciples and left together. In the spiritual weapon palace, other than Yixing, there were only the disciples of the Sun Moon Sect and the Dark Underworld Sect left. Yixing waved his hand. Hui Yun, ignore those who are kneeling. Kill all those who are standing. Roar, the fire cloud lion suddenly roared and the sound waves rolled. The aura of a level 3 demonic beast burst out, causing the martial artists' hearts to tremble. Bang, the fire cloud lion's body was like lightning. In an instant, it appeared in front of Yang Kuan and sent him flying with a claw. Plop 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 plop. The disciples of the two sects were shocked and immediately knelt down. Thank you for your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Long live those who voted. Long live. Long live. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now. Click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 314. Spiritual Weapon Palace. After Yixing left, the disciples of the Sun Moon Sect and the Dark Underworld Sect who were kneeling on the ground immediately stood up. Eldest senior brother. Second senior brother. The disciples of the Dark Underworld Sect ran towards Master Yinming while the disciples of the Sun Moon Sect ran towards Master Dali and Yang Kuan. The three of them were severely injured but not fatally. After taking healing elixirs, their injuries quickly recovered. Especially Master Dali and Master Yinming, who both had medium-grade healing elixirs, the effects were even faster. Master Dali quickly regained his ability to move. Master Yinming's broken bones were quickly healing and his cracked lips were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Master Dali's injuries were much lighter than Master Yinming's. After a short while, he stood up and his face was filled with a tyrannical aura. You little bastard. You're finished. You're completely finished. In the 10 sects grand competition, I'll grind your bones to dust, grind your bones to dust. Master Dali clenched his fists and the veins on his arms bulged as he roared furiously. He, young Master Dari, had never been humiliated like this in his entire life. His hatred for Yixing was so strong that he wanted to die. Not only young Master Great Sun, but young Master Dark Nether and young Master Lightning were also the same. Even young Master Yin Yang, who had managed to escape, hated Yixing to the core. After the Azure Cloud Ancient Land was closed, the 10 sects grand competition would be held immediately to determine the ranking of the most elite juniors in the Azure Cloud region. Master Yin Yang, Master Dali, Master Yinming, and Master Thunder did not dare to do anything to Yixing in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. They were afraid of Yixing's level 3 demonic beast, the Fire Cloud Lion. Therefore, they unanimously decided to take revenge on Yixing during the 10 sects grand competition. The 10-sex grand tournament was a competition of individual strength. Demonic beasts were not allowed to fight. Without demonic beasts, they didn't think much of Yixing's strength. After Yixing left the Azure Cloud Hall, he did not let the disciples of the Falling Star sect follow him. Instead, he let Ma Ren lead them back to the entrance to avoid the disciples of the other sections. He rode the Fire Cloud Lion and headed towards the Yama Fire Domain. The Yen Luo Fire region was in the north of the Green Cloud Ancient Land. Even though the Fire Cloud Lion was a level 3 demonic beast, it still took a day to reach the Yen Luo Fire region. From several hundred miles away, Yixing could see a boundless sea of fire ahead. This sea of flames was even more vigorous than the sea of flames in the Fallen Star Secret Realm. It was not that the area was larger, but rather that the flames were taller. Furthermore, they were continuous without any gaps in between. This was a true sea of flames. Not long after, the Fire Cloud Lion carried Yixing to the outside of the Yen Luo Fire region. Looking at the flames that were dozens of feet high and the waves of air that were rushing towards them, even Yixing was shocked. The Fire Cloud Lion that he was riding was a level 3 demonic beast. Moreover, it was a fire element demonic beast. Looking at the sea of flames, it was unwilling to move forward. The Fire Cloud Lion was not a fire crystal beast. It was not immune to fire attacks. Once it entered the sea of flames, it would be injured by the flames. As for the flames in the Yen Luo Fire region, even an enlightened being would not be able to withstand it. Even if they relied on the astral energy, they would not be able to withstand it for long. However, in front of the Yen Luo Fire region, Yixing could feel that the star fire seed in his Dantian star vortex was very active and restless. This made Yixing happy. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. It seemed that his guess was right. The star fire seed and the flames in the Yen Luo Fire region were both extraterrestrial flames. They must have the same attributes. Then, Yixing could use the black hole astral avatar to devour the flame essence in the sea of flames. It could enhance the power of the flame astral avatar and even upgrade the grade of the star fire seed. Yixing jumped down from the Fire Cloud Lion's back. The Fire Cloud Lion was afraid of the flames here. Yixing asked it to wait outside while he walked into the Yen Luo Fire region. In his Dantian star vortex, the star fire seed, under the control of Yixing, released a pure white flame that enveloped Yixing's body. In an instant, the scorching heat caused by the sea of Yama's flames disappeared without a trace. Yixing didn't feel any heat from the flames he controlled. The flames of the stars blocked the heat from the sea of Yama's flames. Shrouded in the pure white flame, Yixing walked directly into the Yen Luo Fire region and disappeared. If a martial artist below the enlightened being entered the Yen Luo Fire region, they would die without a doubt. Their celestial essence could not resist the heat and would die in an instant. However, Yixing used the star fire seed to protect his body. The flames of the Yen Luo Fire region could not hurt him. He walked unimpeded in the Yen Luo Fire region, more relaxed than an enlightened being. At least, an enlightened being in the Yen Luo Fire region was like fighting a fierce battle. They had to use their star astral essence to resist. But Yixing only needed to use the star fire seed. The flames were like an ocean, and the heat was like waves. Yixing looked very small in the middle of it. But his posture was like a mountain, and every step he took was very steady. Although he was in the Yen Luo Fire region and was surrounded by flames in all directions, Yixing did not feel suffocated. He had comprehended the power of fire and was very sensitive to the surrounding flames. The flames were like his eyes, and he could sense everything around him. Soon, Yixing adapted to the environment of the Yen Luo Fire region. He walked faster and faster in the Yen Luo Fire region. Before long, he had reached the depths of the Yen Luo Fire region. After walking for dozens of miles in the Yen Luo Fire region, Yixing stopped and sat down on the ground. Black hole astrology, come out. Yixing said in his heart. So, a starlight rushed out from between Yixing's eyebrows and turned into a huge dark vortex above Yixing. However, the space around Yixing was not shrouded in darkness. The flames were still bright. The flames here were too strong. Even an enlightened being could be burned to death. With Yixing's current cultivation, he could not use the darkness of the black hole astrology to cover up the light of the flames. But this did not prevent the black hole astrology from absorbing the flame essence in the Yen Luo fire region. The black hole astrology slowly rotated. The endless flame essence in the Yen Luo fire region was swallowed up by the black hole astrology. The next moment, Yixing felt a burning pain in his body. His entire body turned red, as if he was going to burn up. The flame essence in the Yen Luo fire region was too strong. Yixing could not bear it. He thought to himself that it was a close call. If his physical body was not better than other martial saints, he would have been burned to death. However, even if his physical body was stronger than other martial sages, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Fortunately, Yixing didn't want to store the fire essence in his body. Instead, he let the fire astrology and the star fire seed absorb it. Feeling the flame essence in Yixing's body, the stellar fire seed in the Dantian stellar vortex trembled. It produced a huge suction force. The flame essence in Yixing's body turned into a torrent of flames and rushed to the stellar fire seed. At the same time, the flame astrology in the space between Yixing's eyebrows gradually grew brighter. When the black hole astrology swallowed the flame essence, a part of it was directly transferred to the flame astrology. The surrounding flames contained a terrible fire momentum. While Yixing was absorbing the flame essence, he could also feel that his comprehension of the fire momentum was gradually improving. What surprised Yixing even more was that his body was being washed by the flame essence again and again. The impurities in his body were burned into nothingness little by little. The same was true for his celestial essence. The impurities in his celestial essence were also burned away by the flame essence again and again. Yixing's physical body was getting stronger and stronger. The quality of his celestial essence was getting higher and higher. His cultivation was also rising unconsciously. With the gradual strengthening of the star fire seed, as his flesh and celestial essence got used to the impact of the flame essence, the limit of Yixing's endurance of the flame essence was getting higher and higher. Yixing controlled the black hole astrology and swallowed the flame essence faster and faster. Yen Luo Fire Domain. This place was known as a forbidden area by everyone. Even the venerable blue cloud thousands of years ago couldn't turn this sea of flames into a useful place and enclosed it in the blue cloud ancient land. However, to Yixing, this place was a treasure trove, an enormous treasure trove. The flame here was the flame of the fallen star, an extraterrestrial flame. It had the pure power of the stars and had the conditions to transform into a flame astrology. It could also be absorbed by the star fire seed. Ordinary martial artists, even those who cultivated fire attribute cultivation methods, couldn't use these flames. However, for Yixing, who had the black hole astrology and the star fire seed, the flame essence here was the best nourishment. It could enhance his flame astrology and enhance his star fire seed. As time went by, suddenly at a certain moment. Kacha, the novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% lucky draw gift for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign at the top right and add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 315. When a crisp sound came from his body, Yixing was immediately stunned. At that moment, he immediately felt that the quality of the celestial essence in his body had increased by a lot. Moreover, the black hole stellar vortex in his dantian had also expanded, doubling the capacity of his celestial essence. Yixing felt the power in his body and was overjoyed. In the process of devouring the flame essence, his cultivation had unknowingly broken through to the 7th level of the Celestial Vortex realm. The 7th level of the Celestial Vortex realm was a 7-star martial sage and could be conferred the title of Marquis. Although Yixing had defeated 7-star martial sages and even 8-star martial sages before, his strength was only comparable to a Marquis. Strictly speaking, he was not a Marquis. However, now that he had become a 7-star martial sage, he was a Marquis. As long as he was willing, he could get a Marquis title in the Starfall Kingdom. Although Yixing was overjoyed, his face was calm and he quickly calmed down. There was still a lot of flame essence in the Yama fire domain. Yixing continued to use the black hole stellar vortex to devour the flame essence. As for the Marquis title, Yixing just glanced at it and was not interested in it. His vision was not in the Qingyun region or the true Xian domain, but the entire star continent. His goal was not to become a Marquis, a perfected person, or even a venerable. He wanted to be a king standing at the peak of the star continent. The Starfall Kingdom was just a small country in the Qingyun region. The title of Marquis was very attractive to some martial artists who could only reach the advanced martial sage realm. However, it was useless to Yixing. With the improvement of his cultivation, Yixing's tolerance for the flame essence increased again. Yixing sped up his devouring of the flame essence again. A steady stream of fire essence was being forcibly devoured by the black hole from all directions of the Yama Sea of Flames. Yixing's fire astrology, star fire seed, comprehension of fire, physical strength, and celestial essence were improving in every aspect. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, a day had passed. The next day, at noon, Yixing's senses in the sea of fire suddenly sublimated. The range of his senses increased by several times, and the power of the flames became more detailed and clear in his senses. Yixing's comprehension of fire momentum also finally had a qualitative breakthrough, reaching the minute subtlety realm. In Yixing's perception, fire was no longer fire. Instead, it had turned into countless tiny particles. Flames were formed from these countless tiny particles. Sensing these flame particles that were even smaller than dust, Yixing gained a deeper understanding of the essence of fire. Who with just a thought, the flames in the surroundings began to surge. After reaching the minute subtlety realm, Yixing had a close connection with the surrounding flames. He felt as if he was the god of fire, able to control the surrounding flames. Indeed, under Yixing's control, the surrounding flames began to change. Sometimes they turned into dragons, sometimes they turned into flood dragons. In this sea of flames, Yixing could completely control the flames and kill enemies stronger than him. The minute's subtlety realm was something that only high-level enlightened masters could comprehend. Naturally, it was extraordinary. Under Yixing's control, the Yama Sea of Fire began to flow like a real ocean. The flames turned into torrents that swam through the Sea of Fire, sending the flames near Yixing to the distance, and then bringing the distant flames back to Yixing's surroundings. Originally, the flames near Yixing had a large amount of flame essence devoured, causing their quality to drop. However, the amount of flame essence absorbed was decreasing. If Yixing wanted to maintain yesterday's devouring speed, he would have to constantly change his position in the Yama Sea of Fire. But now, there was no need for that. Yixing first controlled the flames in the surroundings, and soon, the flames in the entire sea of Yama flames began to flow. At every moment, flames that had yet to be absorbed by the sea of Yama flames would flow over from afar. The second day quickly passed, and soon, the third day arrived. Before noon, Yixing stopped devouring. He had not completely devoured the flame essence in the Yama Sea of Fire. However, he found that the star flame seed in his Dantian star vortex had reached its limit after absorbing the flame essence. The flame essence in the Yama Sea of Fire could not upgrade it to a higher realm. It could only reach the peak of a high-grade celestial phenomenon and could not be upgraded to an extreme level. Moreover, Yixing's corporeal body and celestial essence had been strengthened to the extreme after absorbing the flame essence countless times. He could no longer use the flame essence to make a breakthrough. Yixing's celestial essence strength had reached the limit of a martial saint. If he wanted to upgrade it, he would have to convert it into astral energy. As for his corporeal body, Yixing felt the power in his body and was amazed. Compared to the power of celestial essence, the corporeal body of a martial saint was weak. Even if Yixing strengthened his corporeal body twice, it could not be compared to the power of his celestial essence. However, Yixing was now very confident in his corporeal body. It was not inferior to the power of his celestial essence. The pure power of his corporeal body was almost comparable to that of a peak martial saint. Yixing stood up. The star flame outside his body had already dissipated, and the flames around him could no longer cause him any harm. Feeling the surrounding flames, Yixing's body slowly rose, and directly floated up on the flames. Yixing's mouth curved into a smile. This feeling of controlling everything, like a god, was really good. He waved his hand, and the nearby flames suddenly changed, condensing together and turning into a huge fire dragon. Yixing took a step and stepped on the head of the fire dragon. The fire dragon broke through the layers of flames, and Yixing flew over the top of the sea of flames. Looking at the endless burning flames in all directions, he felt relaxed and happy. Yixing was really flying at this moment, but with the help of the flames, he could only do so in the sea of flames. Outside of the sea of flames, he was only a martial saint. He could only glide and could not fly, unless he used the top-grade flying spirit artifact, the clear sky wings. Suddenly, Yixing had a flash of inspiration. His understanding of the power of fire was so profound that it had reached the minute's subtlety realm. Moreover, at this moment, he was in the sea of flames, and his understanding of the flames was direct to the essence. If he cultivated a fire-attributed martial art at this time, what kind of effect would it have? Yixing thought, and a strong interest arose in his heart. The contents of the secret manual of the Flame Dipper Fist had already been scanned by Yixing into his super brain, and he had practiced it many times in his spare time. However, Yixing had stopped studying the Flame Dipper Fist because it would take a long time to cultivate it. Now that his power of fire had reached the minute's subtlety, and he was in the sea of flames, his understanding of the flames was direct to the essence. He could use the power of the flames in the sea of flames to cultivate. Would it take a long time to cultivate the Flame Dipper Fist at this time? The fire dragon under his feet dissipated, and Yixing fell to the ground, standing on the ground. In his mind, the super brain simulated Yixing's figure and practiced according to the cultivation method of the Flame Dipper Fist. Yixing's body moved according to the model in his mind, and the celestial essence in his body also moved according to the model. Yixing performed one move after another, and the power of the flames around him was attracted by the moves, producing a crackling sound. Yixing was pleasantly surprised to find that his Flame Dipper Fist was effective. As an upper-grade spiritual martial art, the difficulty of cultivating the Flame Dipper Fist was obvious. It was especially difficult for a martial sage to cultivate an upper-grade spiritual martial art. Even if Yixing's martial arts talent was extremely heaven-defying, in his opinion, it would take at least a month of hard work to cultivate the Flame Dipper Fist. Therefore, in the Qingyun ancient land, there was absolutely no time to cultivate it. But now, Yixing had just started cultivating it, and it was effective. Cultivating it once was more effective than cultivating it 100 times. The higher the level of the martial arts manual, the more emphasis it placed on one's comprehension. Yixing's current understanding of fire had reached the essence, so cultivating the Flaming Dipper Fist was a piece of cake for him. He was able to learn it almost instantly. Yixing practiced the Flame Dipper Fist once, and he already had a good grasp of it. The second time, he already had a high level of comprehension in his heart. Before the third time, Yixing's Flame Dipper Fist had increased in power. When he punched out, flames condensed and almost formed a dipper, creating a big hole in front of him. The flame dipper fist had reached the entry level. Yixing was secretly surprised. At this moment, he was cultivating the flame dipper fist. It was just like cultivating a lower-grade martial art in the past, and he could really learn it immediately. Yixing's face was full of smiles. With such conditions, he would seize the opportunity to cultivate. Such opportunities were rare. Moreover, in the Qingyun ancient land, it was going to be a full month soon. There was not much time left. Yixing calmed himself down and continued cultivating. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there is a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click on the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 316. Falling Star Sect, early in the morning. It was noon today and the Green Cloud ancient land was closed. All the disciples had to come out and the 10 sects grand competition would be held on a vast plain outside the Green Cloud ancient land. The 10 sects grand competition was a big event that involved the 10 sects in the Green Cloud region. In every competition, the 10 sects would take out precious treasures to reward the top 3. Among them, the reward for the first place was the most generous. Therefore, the Falling Star sect was bustling early in the morning. The sect master, Lu Tianyuan, was going to lead a team to the depths of the Green Cloud Mountains to pick up the disciples and lead them to participate in the 10 sects grand competition. In the back hall of the Falling Star main hall, Lu Tianyuan held Hua Tianchu's hand and smiled. Today, all the disciples will come out of the Green Cloud ancient land. Our Falling Star sect has produced a genius like Yixing. I wonder what he will gain in the Green Cloud ancient land. Ha! If he is lucky enough to improve his cultivation in the Green Cloud ancient land, this 10 sects grand competition will be his time to shine. Maybe he will be able to squeeze out one of the 6 great childs, hee. Hua Tianchu's expression did not change. Her eyes twinkled and there was a hidden meaning in them. Hua Tianshu was slightly worried and said, "The Green Cloud ancient land is not like the Falling Star secret land. The 6 great childs are not ordinary people. I hope he is not in danger." Lu Tianyuan was full of confidence in Yixing and said, "Given Yixing's strength, even if he is not a match for the 6 great childs, he can still protect himself. Based on his performance in the Falling Star secret land, his strength should be much stronger than when he entered the Green Cloud ancient land. Maybe he is not weaker than some of the childs. Tianshu, let's go. Today, let's go and see the glory of our genius disciple." Hua Tianshu shook her head and said, "Brother Tianyuan, I'm afraid I can't go today." Lu Tianyuan was surprised. "Why not?" Hua Tianshu held her belly and smiled faintly. "Brother Tianyuan, I think I'm pregnant. I'm a little tired and don't want to go out. I want to rest." Lu Tianyuan's eyes lit up and he was overjoyed. He and Hua Tianshu had been married for more than 10 years. He had always hoped that Hua Tianshu would bear him children, but it never happened. Now that he heard that Hua Tianshu was pregnant, he was overjoyed. Lu Tianyuan excitedly grabbed Hua Tianshu's shoulders and said, "Good, that's great. Tianshu, you must rest well. You don't have to go to the 10 sects grand tournament today. When I return, I will tell you about the performance of our sect's genius disciples." Hua Tianshu nodded and said, "Be careful, Brother Tianyuan. Don't worry. I'll bring Elder Yu Pinghai from the Law Enforcement Hall, Elder Qi Doxing from the War Pavilion, Elder Wei Yang, Elder Lin Fingjue from the Sect Affairs Hall, and Elder Tang Yuntian from the Affairs Hall. Including me, there are 6 perfected persons." Lu Tianyuan patted Hua Tianshu's shoulder and said, "Rest well at home and wait for me to come back." Ha! I, Lu Tianyuan, finally have a child. Ha! Lu Tianyuan laughed as he walked toward the main hall. After Lu Tianyuan left, the smile on Hua Tianchu's face froze and was replaced by a bone-chilling coldness. This day. It's finally here. Hua Tianchu mumbled to herself. When Lu Tianyuan arrived at the main hall, the law enforcement elder Yu Pinghai, elder Lin Fingjue, elder Tang Yuntian, elder Qi Doxing from the war pavilion, and perfected persons Wei Yang had all arrived. Let's go to the old site of the Emerald Cloud sect. Lu Tianyuan walked out of the main hall with the 5 perfected persons elders. The purple flame monarch eagle was already waiting for him. The 6 perfected persons leaped onto the back of the purple flame monarch eagle. The purple flame monarch eagle soared into the sky and flew toward the depths of the Emerald Cloud Mountain. Last time, 3 perfected persons were enough to send the younger disciples into the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. This time, it was the grand competition of the 10 sects. When the younger disciples fought, it was common for them to lose control and accidentally injure their opponents. There were even cases of them accidentally killing their opponents. Once such a thing happened, if the elders shielded their disciples, it was inevitable that there would be disputes between the sections. At this time, they had to have enough strength to control the situation. Otherwise, they would be bullied. Therefore, Lu Tianyuan brought a total of 5 perfected persons elders with him. Including him, there were 6 of them. The other sects would not bring too many, but it should be enough to control the situation. Moreover, the sect could not lose its foundation. There had to be someone left to guard it. Sending 6 perfected persons at once was not a small number. There were only 6 perfected persons left to guard the sect. The other 2 perfected persons were guarding the star crystal mine. Before noon, Lu Tianyuan and the other 5 had arrived at the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. This time, the Falling Star sect arrived earlier than the Spiritual Moon sect, but the Dongfu sect arrived earlier. The Dongfu sect was led by the Supreme Elder, Tan Watanabe. He brought 4 perfected persons with him. The sect leader, Watanabe Xiong, still did not appear. The 2 sects that hated each other arrived first. Naturally, they each took one side and looked at each other with sharp gazes. Kid Lu, let me make a bet with you. Do you dare? Tan Watanabe stared at Lu Tianyuan and laughed. Tan Watanabe was of the same generation as Lu Tianyuan. He was much older than Lu Tianyuan and naturally called Lu Tianyuan a kid. Lu Tianyuan said coldly, "What do you want to bet?" Tan Watanabe's eyes flashed viciously and said, "I bet that all the disciples of the Falling Star sect will be wiped out in the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. Do you dare to bet?" The 6 perfected persons of the Falling Star sect were enraged. Qi Doxing was the leader of the 3 Grand Elders of the War Pavilion. He was a 2-star perfected person and had a bad temper. He shouted angrily, "Bullsh**T. I think all the disciples of the Dongfu sect will be wiped out." Tan Watanabe's face turned green. The 4 perfected persons beside him were also enraged. Today was the day that the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land was closed. Everyone was waiting for the elite disciples of their sects to come out of the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. Who would be willing to hear that their elite disciples were wiped out? The Dongfu sect was the one who started it. Now that they were angry because of it, it was ridiculous. It was as if they were the only ones who could criticize the Falling Star sect and the Falling Star sect could not criticize the Dongfu sect. The 2 sides had been enemies for generations. A single word of disagreement could lead to a big fight. At this time, the people from the Spirit Moon sect and the Flying Cloud sect arrived one after another. Furthermore, the Blood Spectre sect's group had already appeared in the distant sky. Only then did the enlightened masters of the 2 sects stop fighting. Not long after, the people of the Divine Wind sect were also ready. The 6 southern sects had all arrived. As for the 4 northern sects, they were more ostentatious. No one wanted to be the first to arrive. They would not show up until the moment when the seal of the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land was opened. In comparison, the disciples of the 6 southern sects were at a disadvantage in the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. The elders of the 6 sects looked at the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land with anticipation and worry in their eyes. At noon, the perfected persons of the Sun Moon sect, Xianming sect, Tian Luo sect and the Azure Thunder sect appeared at the same time from different directions and arrived outside the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. The 4 sects arrived at the same time. When they stood still, the seal of the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land made a loud noise. The seal opened and many paths that led to the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land appeared. Not long after, the disciples of the 4 northern sects came out from the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. 20 people came out from the Sun Moon sect, 19 from the Xianming sect, 18 from the Azure Thunder sect and 20 from the Tian Luo sect. None of the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Tian Luo sect were missing. The Xianming sect was missing 1 person and the Azure Thunder sect was missing 2 people. Soon, 2 more teams came out from the other entrances. One was from the Wind sect and the Blood Ghost sect while the other was from the Falling Star sect and the Spirit Moon sect. Among the 4 sects, only the Falling Star sect still had 10 disciples. The Spirit Moon sect was missing 1 person while the Wind sect and the Blood Ghost sect were missing 2 people each. As for the disciples of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect, none of them came out. Watanabe Tan and Yun Jiankong looked at each other from afar and frowned. The disciples of the Falling Star sect and the Spirit Moon sect knew that the disciples of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect had been annihilated. However, they could not say this out loud. It was none of their business. If they said it out loud, they would be in trouble. As time passed, the elders of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect became more and more anxious. Ha ha ha. At this time, Qi Dosheng, the elder of the War Pavilion of the laughed and said, "Old man of the Dongfu sect, the disciples of the Dongfu sect are indeed annihilated." Ha ha ha. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there's a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow. Hurry up. Chapter 317. The enlightened being elder of the Dongfu sect looked gloomy. They couldn't believe that the disciples of the Dongfu sect would be annihilated. Among the disciples of the Dongfu sect was Master Watanabe, one of the 6 great childs. He was one of the most outstanding and powerful young geniuses in the Qingyun region. Who could kill him? Although they didn't want to believe it, the fact was that the disciples of the Dongfu sect were annihilated. Because according to the plan, all the disciples of the Falling Star sect should have been annihilated. However, none of the disciples of the Falling Star sect were missing. It was obvious that the plan of the disciples of the Dongfu sect to join forces with the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect to kill the disciples of the Falling Star sect had failed. The enlightened being elder of the Flying Cloud sect was as gloomy as the enlightened being elder of the Dongfu sect. None of the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect came out. Watanabe Tan and Yun Jiankong stared at the entrance of the Qingyun ancient land. They still had a glimmer of hope until the last moment. At this time, even the immortal elders of the northern 4 sects were surprised. The southern 6 sects were 1 level lower than the northern 4 sects. Their disciples could never be compared with the best disciples of the northern 4 sects. After hundreds of years, there was finally a Master Watanabe who could be compared with the best disciples of the northern 4 sects. How could he die in the Qingyun ancient land? At this moment, the disciples of the 4 northern sects had reported to the enlightened being elders of the 4 northern sects. The enlightened being elders of the Sun Moon sect, Xianming sect, Qinglei sect, and Tian Luo sect all looked at the Falling Star sect. Their target was obviously Yixing. After hearing about Yi Xing's performance in the Qingyun ancient land, the enlightened being elders of the four northern sects concluded that Master Watanabe had died. The disciples of the Dongfu sect had been annihilated. However, they didn't know why the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect didn't come out either. The enlightened masters of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect were furious about the death of young Master Watanabe. The Dongfu sect was the target of their support among the 6 southern sects. Young Master Watanabe was an important chess piece with great potential in the future. He would become a great powerhouse in the Green Cloud region. He would play a great role in eliminating the Sky Net sect and Green Thunder sect. Now that they had lost this important chess piece, the Falling Star sect that Yi Xing belonged to was on the side of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. They did not wish for the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect to have a top expert who could influence the situation. Moreover, back in the Azure Cloud ancient ground, Yi Xing had humiliated the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect. Even young Noble Great Sun and young Noble Dark Nether were injured by Yi Xing's Fire Cloud Lion. This made the enlightened beings and elders of the 2 sects even more furious at Yi Xing. Therefore, the enlightened masters and elders of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect looked at Yi Xing with ferocious gazes. As for the enlightened masters and elders of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect, they were naturally happy to see the death of young Master Watanabe and the rise of Yi Xing. However, the enlightened masters of the Green Thunder sect were prejudiced against Yi Xing because of young Master Thunder. The enlightened masters of the Tian Luo sect did not hide the admiration in their eyes. The sect master of the Tian Luo sect, Luo Zhan, decided to attach importance to the relationship with the Falling Star sect. He was prepared to support the Falling Star sect and nurture Yi Xing. If Yi Xing could become a top expert in the Green Cloud region, then they would have more confidence in the battle against the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect. The 4 northern sects had been competing for thousands of years. The conflicts between them were intense. In this generation, each sect had produced outstanding young geniuses. Perhaps the battle between the 2 camps would end in this generation. In the end, one side would win and the other side would be eliminated from the Green Cloud region. Which sect did not want to be passed down forever? No one wanted to be the one to be eliminated. The young geniuses of this generation were far better than those of the past. The future was in their hands. Whichever side had more geniuses would have a higher chance of winning. Currently, the odds of winning were in the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect's favor. This was because the Sun Moon sect had 2 child-level geniuses. With the addition of the Dark Nether sect's 1, they had already surpassed the 2 child-level geniuses of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. With the addition of Sir Watanabe, it would be a situation of 4 against 2. If this generation were to fully mature in another 10 years, then the situation would be extremely unfavorable to the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. Now, Sir Watanabe had fallen and Yi Xing had risen. Yi Xing was on the side of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. As long as they nurtured Yi Xing, the future child-level geniuses would be 3 against 3. They would be able to overturn the disadvantage of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. Sect Master Lei. Our chance has come. In the future, we will support the Falling Star sect and nurture Yi Xing. We can overturn the disadvantage in the battle against the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect. We finally have a chance of winning. Luo Zhan, the sect master of the Tian Luo sect, sent a message to Lei Zhen, the sect master of the Green Thunder sect. Lei Zhen, the sect master of the Green Thunder sect, had a prejudice against Yi Xing because his son, Lei Bao, had been severely injured by Yi Xing's demonic beasts in the Green Cloud ancient land. He replied, "Let's see his performance in the 10 sects grand competition first." Lei Zhen thought to himself, if he really has the potential, there is no harm in nurturing him as a pawn. If he is just a good-for-nothing who relies on the power of the demonic beasts, what is the point of keeping him? Rumble. The seal of the green cloud ancient land was closed and the entrances were covered by the seal. The elders of the East supporting sect and the flying cloud sect waited for a long time but did not see their disciples come out of the green cloud ancient land. Now that the seal of the green cloud ancient land was closed, even if they did not believe it, they had to recognize the truth. The disciples of the East supporting sect and the flying cloud sect were all annihilated and none of them survived. No. Looking at the complete seal of the green cloud ancient land, Dubian Tan and Yun Jiankong cried out in pain. Those who had entered the Qingyun ancient land were the most elite young geniuses, especially the younger generation. Whether it was the Dongfu sect or the Flying Cloud sect, there were peerless geniuses who had not appeared for hundreds of years. It was unacceptable that all of them had died. The Falling Stars sect and the Spirit Moon sect were happy to see the pain of the elders of the East supporting sect. They were indifferent to the pain of the elders of the Flying Cloud sect. They had heard from their disciples that the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect and the East supporting sect had colluded. It's your fault. Dubian Tan's eyes were red as he pointed at the disciples of the Falling Stars sect and shouted. Yixing said, "Old man, you can eat whatever you want but you can't spout whatever you want. You have to have evidence to back up your words. The disciples of the East supporting sect are all dead. It's none of our business. You killed the disciples of the East supporting sect and you still dare to deny it. The fire cloud lion beside you is a LV3 demonic beast. You must have killed the disciples of the East supporting sect." At this moment, an angry voice came from the Sun Moon sect. It was young Master Darius. In the Green Cloud ancient land, young Master Darius was severely injured by the Fire Cloud Lion. However, he had a medium-grade healing pill. After so many days, his injury had already healed. Young Master Dark Nether and young Master Thunder were the same. The elders of the four northern sects, the Falling Stars sect, the Spirit Moon sect, the Wind sect, and the Blood Spectre sect had heard from their disciples that the Fire Cloud Lion beside Yixing was a LV3 demonic beast. They were already shocked and their expressions did not change after hearing young Master Darius's words. However, the elders of the East supporting sect and the Flying Cloud sect were shocked when they heard it. Dubian Tan was furious. He pointed at Yixing and shouted, "I see. You used a LV3 demonic beast to kill all the disciples of our sect. You killed the number one genius of our sect. I will tear you into pieces." The leader of the Flying Cloud sect, Yun Jiankong, also shouted emotionally, "Lu Tianyuan, our sect is in an alliance with the Falling Star sect. Your disciple dared to kill all the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect. Is he still human? We will avenge our disciples and hand over that little bastard Yixing." Lu Tianyuan looked at Yun Jiankong indifferently and said, "Yixing said that you can eat whatever you want but not fart. Yun Jiankong, what nonsense are you spouting? What does the annihilation of your Flying Cloud sect disciples have to do with my Falling Stars sect disciples?" Yun Jiankong said angrily, "Who else could it be other than him?" Lu Tianyuan said, "In the Qingyun ancient land, there are many people who can kill the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect. Not to mention the geniuses of the northern four sects, even the disciples of the Dongfu sect can kill the trash disciples of the Flying Cloud sect." Yun Jiankong shouted, "Why would the disciples of the East supporting sect kill my Flying Cloud sect disciples?" Lu Tianyuan smiled faintly and said, "Oh. Why not? Are you close? Only one more vote and I will be in the top 30 of the overall ranking. Which brother will vote for me? Thank you." Chapter 318. Yun Jiankong was speechless. Although he was sure that the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect were killed by the disciples of he could not come up with a reason. Did he have to say that the Flying Cloud sect was a traitor and had joined forces with the East supporting sect? Therefore, the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect were killed by the disciples of the Falling Star sect. Although that was the truth, he could not say it out loud. If Yun Jianfei said that, it would not be the disciples of the Falling Star sect who killed the disciples of the Flying Clouds sect, but the disciples of the Flying Clouds sect. Traitors should be killed. Yun Jiankong's eyes were filled with anger and he could not vent it out. He could only glare at Yi Xing with murderous intent in his eyes. The Flying Clouds sect could not avenge their disciples openly. Even if Yun Jiankong wanted Yi Xing's life, he could only do it secretly. At this moment, he had no reason to kill Yi Xing. Tian Luo sect leader Luo Zhan had decided to nurture Yi Xing and improve their relationship with the Falling Star sect. Seeing that the Falling Star sect was being attacked by the East supporting sect and the Flying Cloud sect, Luo Zhan walked out. Luo Zhan said, "In the Azure Cloud Ancient Land, it's a battle between the younger generation. Life and death is a common occurrence in the world of martial artists. Now that the Azure Cloud Ancient Land is closed, the matter inside has come to an end. If anyone is dissatisfied and wants to take revenge, they can wait until the Azure Cloud Ancient Land opens again 5 years later. Then, they can let their disciples regain their dignity in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. Instead of fighting now, it's time for the 10 sects grand competition." The Sun Moon sect leader Yin Wudao nodded and agreed with Luo Zhan's words. He said, "That's right. Now is the time for the 10 sects grand competition." The Sun Moon sect had 2 young masters. Moreover, the Yin Yang master was ranked first among the 6 young masters. He had broken through to the 8-star martial saint realm in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land and his strength was terrifying. In Yin Wudao's opinion, the Sun Moon sect would be the only one in the 10 sects grand competition and it was the best time for the Sun Moon sect to shine. According to the schedule, after the Green Cloud Ancient Land closed, it would be the time for the grand competition of the younger generation of the 10 sects. Since Luo Zhan and Yin Wudao had already said that they would temporarily put aside their grudges and hold the 10 sects grand tournament, the East supporting sect and Flying Cloud sect naturally didn't dare to say anything. The top 10 sects each occupied one side of the plain outside the Qingyun Ancient Land, leaving an empty area with a radius of 1,000 meters in the middle for the competition. For the 10 sect grand tournament, each sect had to fork out 60,000 low-grade astral crystals as the wager. The total was 600,000. 600,000 low-grade astral crystals would only be given to the top 3 of the 10 sect grand tournament. The first prize was 300,000, the second prize was 200,000, and the third prize was 100,000. The reward would be split equally with the sect. Basically, in every 10 sects grand competition, the top 3 would be born from the 4 northern sects. In the past 1,000 years, the number of times the disciples of the 6 southern sects had made it into the top 3 could be counted on one hand. In every 10 sect grand tournament, the 6 southern sects had to contribute 360,000 low-grade astral crystals. However, they basically didn't get any rewards. In fact, this was a kind of oppression and exploitation of the 6 southern sects, but the 6 southern sects had no choice but to agree. Because the 6 southern sects had to give the 4 northern sects a sum of low-grade astral crystals every 5 years, the 4 northern sects rarely interfered with the matters of the 6 southern sects. This was actually equivalent to a protection fee. Moreover, it wasn't that the 4 northern sects didn't give the 6 southern sects a chance. As long as the 6 southern sects disciples could make it into the top 3, they would still be able to win the rewards. The quota for the 10 sect grand tournament was for the 6 southern sects 3 most elite disciples and for the 4 northern sects 6 disciples, a total of 42 people. However, the East supporting sect and Flying Cloud sect's disciples who entered the Qingyun Ancient Land were all annihilated. This time, they couldn't send anyone to participate in the 10 sect grand tournament. Excluding these 6 people, there were a total of 36 people. Although no disciples participated, the wager of 60,000 low-grade astral crystals couldn't be less. This was the rule. Yun Jiankong didn't feel anything when the Flying Cloud sect handed over 60,000 low-grade astral crystals. Anyway, the Flying Cloud sect couldn't get it back. However, Watanabe-tan was furious when the East supporting sect handed over 60,000 low-grade astral crystals. The East supporting sect had young Master Watanabe, who was second only to the Yin-Yang young master in terms of talent. This time, the East supporting sect should have shone brightly in the 10-sect Grand Tournament and had the hope of rushing into the top 3. The disciples of the 6 southern sects would not only be able to get a lot of rewards but also a kind of glory if they rushed into the top 3 in the 10-sect Grand Tournament. However, the East supporting sect's disciples were annihilated. After handing over 60,000 low-grade astral crystals, they could only watch the disciples of the other sects perform. How could he not be furious? He clenched his fist tightly and glanced at the people of the Falling Star sect fiercely. His eyes were filled with killing intent. You won't live for long. Later, I will step on all of you and torture you to death one by one. Especially Yixing, that little bastard. I will let you live a life worse than death as a sacrifice to my sect's disciples in heaven. Watanabe-tan said fiercely in his heart. Swoosh. 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 The Sun-Moon sect, the Stygian sect, the Tian-Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect each sent out an astral realm sage and landed in 4 different directions. They were the referees of the 10-sect Grand Tournament. Each of the 4 northern sects had 1 judge. The Sun-Moon sect was now the strongest and had the momentum of being the leader of the 4 sects. After the 4 sage landed, the sage of the Sun-Moon sect waved his hand and said, "The 10-sect Grand Tournament starts now. Disciples of the various sects who are participating in the 10-sect Grand Tournament, please step forward." Those who participated in the 10-sect Grand Tournament were the most elite disciples. The Falling Star sect sent out Yixing, Ma Ren and Qi Jingyang. The Spirit Moon sect, the Holy Wind sect and the Blood Ghost sect sent out 2 7-star martial sages and 1 peak 6-star martial sage. Other than the 5 young masters, the 4 8-star martial sages of the 4 northern sects naturally participated in the tournament. The rest were late 7-star martial sages or peak 7-star martial sages. Because the disciples of the East supporting sect and the Flying Cloud sect were missing, there were only 36 people in total. Therefore, after 2 rounds, there were only 9 junior experts left. The other 18 people were all eliminated. The remaining 9 people were Yixing, Young Master Tian Luo, Young Master Yin Yang, Young Master Great Sun, Young Master Thunder, Young Master Dark Nether, Young Master Thunder, Lei Yun, Ming Shuang, and Luoying. The 5 young masters were naturally all here. Among the 4 8-star martial sages, only Yang Kuan of the Sun-Moon sect was eliminated. In the second round, Yang Kuan's opponent was Yixing. Yang Kuan had suffered a great loss in Yixing's hands and directly admitted defeat. At this time, Yixing was already a peak 7-star martial sage. He had obtained great benefits in the Yama Fire Sea. The star essence in his body had strengthened to the limit of martial sage. If it was not for his state of mind, he could continue to break through to 8-star martial sage. As for Yixing's cultivation, most people thought that Yixing had deliberately hidden it. In fact, he was originally a 7-star martial sage. That was why he had the strength to defeat 8-star martial sages. On the contrary, if Yixing was really a 6-star martial sage before, he could defeat 3 8-star martial sages who were 2 levels higher than him. This was completely comparable to the young Master Yin Yang's ability to challenge people who were 2 levels higher than him. Everyone felt that it was unreal. After all, geniuses who could challenge people of a higher level were very rare. It was not that easy to appear. Therefore, when they saw that Yixing was a 7-star martial sage, everyone was relieved. It turned out that he had hidden his cultivation. However, the martial artists of the Falling Star sect were very clear that Yixing had not hidden his cultivation. They had witnessed Yixing's growth with their own eyes. When Yixing had entered the outer sect of the he had only been an ordinary star-tempering realm martial artist. Lu Tianyuan was very confident in this 10 sects grand tournament. When Yixing was a 5-star martial sage, he had defeated Yun Feng, who was known as the invincible 7-star martial sage. Not only was he fighting people who were 2 levels higher than him, but he was also an intermediate martial sage challenging an advanced martial sage. It was very difficult. Yixing was now a 7-star martial sage, an advanced martial sage. Challenging a 9-star martial sage was within the range of an advanced martial sage. Therefore, the difficulty seemed to be lower than that of a 5-star martial sage challenging a 7-star martial sage. Therefore, Lu Tianyuan was very sure that Yixing's strength was definitely comparable to the few young masters. Perhaps only the young master Yin Yang and young master Tian Luo, who had broken through to the 9-star martial sage, could pose a threat to Yixing. As for young master Dari, young master Nether, and young master Thunderbolt, Lu Tianyuan thought that Yixing had a high chance of winning. If Yixing could defeat young master Dari, young master Nether, and young master Thunderbolt, it meant that he would enter the top 3 and be able to obtain the rewards of the 10 sects grand tournament. This was already a great honor for the 6 southern sects. Lu Tianyuan did not expect Yixing to win first or second place. His goal was to be third. As long as Yixing entered the top 3, the Falling Star sect would be proud and have unlimited glory. Chapter 319. From this round onwards, the elimination round will be changed to a point competition. The top 9 will have to fight against the other 8. The winner will get 1 point, and the loser will lose 1 point. The top 3 will be ranked according to the points and will receive the rewards of the 10 sects tournament. The enlightened master of the Sun-Moon sect said loudly. Everyone was surprised. In the past, the 10 sects grand tournament was always an elimination round. Why would it be a point competition this time? Yixing reacted at this moment. If it was an elimination round, he would be eliminated if he lost to a young master. The other young masters wouldn't even have a chance to take revenge on him in the 10 sects grand tournament. If it was a point competition, even if Yixing lost to a young master, he wouldn't be eliminated immediately. He would still have to fight against the other young masters. In this way, the young masters who wanted to take care of Yixing would all have a chance. If Yixing could react, so could the others. The leader of the Tian Luo sect, Luo Zhan, said, "I don't agree with changing the rules of the 10 sects tournament. We should continue with the elimination rounds. The winner will advance and the loser will be eliminated. Now that there are 9 people, we can let the Yin Yang young master advance and the other 8 will fight." The young master of the Yin Yang sect was ranked first among the 6 young masters. Naturally, no one objected to letting him advance. It was a good thing for the Sun-Moon sect. However, the sect master of the Sun-Moon sect didn't appreciate it. Yin Wudao said, "For the sake of fairness, the point competition is the best. Although the elimination round is simple, if the strong meet too early, the strong will be eliminated prematurely. This is not fair." The sect master of the Stygian sect, Mingli, said, "I agree with the point competition." The sect master of the Azure Thunder sect, Lei Zhen, didn't stand on the same side. He said, "I agree with the point competition too." In the elimination round, Yixing might be eliminated before he could meet the young master of the Thunderbolt. Lei Zhen obviously wanted to give his son a chance to take revenge on Yixing in the 10 sects grand tournament. "I agree. I agree too." The East supporting sect, the Divine Wind sect, the Blood Spectre sect, and the Flying Clouds sect all agreed. More than half of the top 10 sects agreed, so the point competition was naturally decided. Lu Tianyuan furrowed his brows slightly. He also felt that something was amiss. It seemed like the next match would be targeted at Yixing. Although he was very confident in Yixing, it was still just a guess. He still had to verify it with actual combat. Naturally, he was worried. As for Yixing, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Points competition. All of them wanted to take revenge on him. Ha! We still don't know who will be the one getting beaten up. Yixing clenched his fists and felt the pure physical strength. He was full of confidence. His current physical strength was enough to crush most 9-star martial sages. Other than Yin Yang Young Master and Tian Luo Young Master, he did not take the other young masters seriously. After confirming the point competition, the Sun Moon Sect's enlightened master looked over at the Falling Star sect. Yixing, you are the new star of the 10 sects grand competition. Come up first. Lu Tianyuan patted Yixing's shoulder and said, be careful. If you can't beat them, don't fight to the death. You can admit defeat. Yixing was the most talented disciple in the history of the Falling Star sect. Lu Tianyuan did not want anything to happen to him. Yixing's eyes were filled with confidence. He said, don't worry, sect leader. Wait for my triumphant return. After saying that, Yixing walked to the center of the flat ground. The fire cloud lion obeyed Yixing's order and did not follow him. When Yixing went up, the Sun Moon Sect's enlightened master said loudly, the first battle, Yixing against the Dark Nether Young Master. Many people were surprised. In the top 9, there were 3 ordinary 8-star martial sages. Yixing's first battle was not with one of the 3, but with a young master. The Dark Nether Young Master was a peak 8-star martial sage. In terms of combat strength, he was more powerful than many 9-star martial sages. At this moment, Yixing was fighting against a 9-star martial sage. Yixing was only a 7-star martial sage. The Dark Nether Young Master's eyes were filled with ferocity. His body was like a phantom. In a flash, he appeared among the disciples of the Dark Nether sect and stood in front of Yixing. After being treated by a medium-grade healing spiritual pill, the Dark Nether Young Master's injuries had healed. His broken lips were also healed. However, the new flesh around the wound was a little different from the old flesh on his lips. There were 2 obvious scars that divided his lips into 4 parts. The Dark Nether Young Master stared at Yixing and clenched his fist. It was as if he was holding Yixing in his palm. He said with a ferocious expression, Yixing, without the help of the demonic beasts, let's see how you can escape from me today. I will return the humiliation you gave me in the clear cloud ancient land 10-fold, no, 100-fold. Yixing looked coldly at the Dark Nether Young Master and said indifferently, so what if I don't have the help of the demonic beasts? I don't want to dirty my hands when dealing with an arrogant piece of trash like you. That's why I let the demonic beasts do it. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll wake you up today. You're just an arrogant piece of trash. Don't always think that you're a genius. What kind of child-level genius are you? You don't deserve such a title. What did you say? The Dark Nether Young Master was enraged. His terrifying aura instantly erupted like a ferocious beast. He was a child-level genius, a 6-star yellow life genius. Moreover, he had excellent martial arts talent and the ability to challenge those of a higher rank. Even in the 4 northern sects, he was a rare genius. If it weren't for the Yin Yang Young Master overshadowing his brilliance and the other child-level geniuses distracting his brilliance, every time a genius like him appeared in the history of the Qingyun region, he would be able to suppress all heroes and become the pinnacle expert of the Qingyun region, sweeping across all directions. The rest of the martial artists were also shocked by Yixing's words. In their eyes, the Dark Nether Young Master was an extraordinary genius. However, in Yixing's eyes, he was just an arrogant piece of trash. The difference was too big. Yixing's words obviously didn't get the approval of the crowd. In the eyes of most people, Yixing was the real arrogant one. Mingli, the sect master of the Xianming sect, snorted angrily. The top genius of the Xianming sect in the past 300 years had actually been called a piece of trash by Yixing. Mingli's anger was instantly ignited. His eyes revealed a cruel look. He couldn't wait to see the scene of the Dark Nether young master torturing Yixing. In the face of the Dark Nether young master's angry roar, Yixing remained calm and indifferent. Yixing said, "There are so many geniuses in the world. You're just an outstanding martial artist among the younger generation in the Qingyun region. If you consider the entire true Xian domain, you're nothing. If you consider the entire star continent, you're even more unknown. However, you think that you're the pride of this generation. Young master is a genius. Other than those who are already as famous as you, you don't care about anyone else. What makes you think that I'm not your match without the help of a demonic beast? You're just an arrogant piece of trash, aren't you?" The Dark Nether young master was furious and shouted, "Bullshit. You think you can surpass me? Die for me." As he spoke, a mid-grade spirit spear appeared in his hand. As soon as he finished speaking, the Dark Nether young master stabbed the spear at Yixing. The tip of the spear shot out a dazzling light. The body of the spear was like a dragon, containing an extremely terrifying power. Facing this spear, Yixing didn't dodge. Instead, he used his palm like a blade and slashed out horizontally. Before the tip of the spear could reach Yixing's body, the tip of the spear was chopped by Yixing's palm blade. Clang! The palm blade collided with the tip of the spear, producing an explosive sound. The Dark Nether young master was shocked. He felt a terrifying power coming from the mid-grade spirit spear. In an instant, the mid-grade spirit spear was deflected to the side and stabbed empty air. "Is this all you've got? You don't even have the qualifications to force me to use my weapon," Yixing said coldly. He took a step forward and punched out like a ghost. Yixing's move was ordinary. It was just an ordinary martial skill, Roaring Tiger Fist. Moreover, it was a mid-grade martial skill among ordinary martial skills. However, such an ordinary mid-grade martial skill, an ordinary punch, in Yixing's hands, had a magical power. As the fist blasted out, the tiger's roar made the Dark Nether young master feel as if a mountain was smashing down on him. When one's physical strength reached a certain level, there was no need to use celestial essence at all. Just an ordinary martial skills move contained incredible power. The Dark Nether young master was shocked. He waved his spear to block and displayed his defensive move, Iron Chain Blockade. Clang! Yixing's fist hit the spear shaft, producing an earth-shattering explosion. The Dark Nether young master suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and shot backwards. Chapter 320. All the surrounding martial artists were dumbfounded and shocked. Even the senior perfected masters from the 4 northern sects and the 6 southern sects were no exception. The Dark Nether young master was sent flying by Yixing's punch. Yes, it was just one punch. Moreover, Yixing did not use his celestial essence, spiritual martial arts, or spiritual weapon. It was just an ordinary punch, and the martial skill he used was only a mediocre martial skill among ordinary martial skills. However, it actually sent the Nether Dark Prince flying with a single punch. Moreover, the Dark Nether young master vomited blood. Looking at the scene in front of them, the martial artists could not believe it. Just how much power did Yixing's punch possess to be able to send young Master Dark Nether flying while vomiting blood? And this was just pure physical strength. How strong did his physical body have to be to have such terrifying strength? How could a martial sage have such terrifying strength? The surrounding martial artists were surprised and puzzled. As the person involved, the Dark Nether young master was even more shocked. After flying back dozens of meters, the Dark Nether young master landed on the ground and then took a few more steps back before his body stabilized. Yixing was not in a hurry to attack with his spear. Instead, he clenched his fists and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. He slowly walked toward the dark nether young master. Yixing said, "You can't even take one punch from me. Tell me, are you a genius or a piece of trash?" The dark nether young master's eyes were filled with anger and he shouted, "You just have a strong physical strength because of a fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, how could you be my opponent? No matter how strong the physical strength is, there is a limit. The martial Tao is endless. You think you can compare with me? You are the piece of trash." Whoosh as he spoke, a starlight rushed out from between the dark nether young master's eyebrows and turned into a huge star suspended in the sky. This was a water-type star. The entire star was a vast sea with turbulent waves, revealing the vast water-type star power. It was a high-grade astrology. After using the astrology, the dark nether young master's strength skyrocketed. His momentum doubled and his eyes revealed confidence. Celestial essence can be combined with the astrology, doubling or even several times the power. What's the use of your strong physical body? The power of the astrology can only be combined with celestial essence. Even if you use the astrology, it can't improve your physical strength. How can you fight with me? The dark nether young master's eyes flashed with a fierce light and he shouted, "Raging dragon goes to the sea." As soon as he finished speaking, the dark nether prince leaped into the air. His water element celestial body poured down an endless amount of star energy and stabbed out with the mid-grade spirit spear. Boom! As the dark nether young noble thrust his spear forward, a huge dragon rushed out from the boundless sea of the water element constellation, letting out an earth-shattering roar. The power of this spear was too terrifying. Apart from the young noble-level geniuses, the rest of the younger generation of the 10 great sects were all shocked. They could feel the power of the nether young master's spear. If they faced this move, they would definitely be killed in an instant. Even an 8-star martial sage was no exception. The dark nether young master's most powerful attack could even kill an ordinary 9-star martial sage. Naturally, its power was peerless. However, Yixing's expression remained unchanged in the face of the dark nether young master's attack. He said lightly, "Is this your limit?" As he spoke, Yixing bent his legs and bounced his body, instantly shooting towards the raging dragon that was surging towards him along with the middle-grade spirit spear. Yixing still did not use his celestial essence. Naturally, he did not use his spiritual martial arts. He did not even use his weapon. He was going to collide with the dark nether young master's most powerful attack head-on. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened. In many people's view, Yixing's move was simply crazy. It was almost suicidal. "Break for me!" Yixing roared. His entire body erupted with a terrifying aura like a landslide and a tsunami. He threw a punch forward. This punch had a peerless and invincible spirit. A huge shadow of a flood dragon was hidden in Yixing's punch. Ordinary martial arts, upper-grade martial skill, Overlord Flood Dragon Fist. The martial artists present were all ordinary martial artists. Many of them had seen the Overlord Flood Dragon Fist before. However, they had never seen such a terrifying Overlord Flood Dragon Fist. Boom! The raging dragon that was condensed by water-type star force was directly smashed by Yixing's punch. The dragon's head collapsed inch by inch. Looking at the exploding water dragon that was dozens of feet long, many martial artists' eyes almost popped out. Yixing's physical strength had reached such a level. His punch was extremely overbearing. Everything in front of him was shattered by the power of this punch. The dark nether young master felt a terrifying recoil from the collapsing water dragon. His body shook and the spirit weapon treasure spear that was thrusting forward also paused for a moment. At this moment, Yixing had rushed in front of the treasure spear. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the spear shaft. The dark nether young master was shocked and quickly pulled back the spear. However, the spirit weapon treasure spear was held in Yixing's hand. It was as if it had grown roots and did not move. Yixing pulled the spirit weapon treasure spear behind him and shouted, "Take my punch too." Boom! Yixing threw a punch. The void in front of him exploded and the air in the void burst out in all directions. The Dark Nether young master's body was thrown forward by the spirit weapon treasure spear and just happened to hit the tip of Yixing's punch. The protective celestial essence instantly collapsed under the power of this punch. Yixing's fierce punch directly hit the Dark Nether young master's chest. The Dark Nether young master suddenly screamed. His hands could no longer hold on to the spirit weapon treasure spear. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his body shot backwards. This time, the Dark Nether prince's body took a direct hit from Yixing's punch. His internal organs were all shifted, and he was severely injured. He flew back dozens of meters in the air and fell to the ground. He rolled several times and couldn't get up for a while. Whoosh! A cold light cut through the sky. Then, with a ding sound, a long spear stabbed into the ground beside the Dark Nether young master. It was his middle-grade spirit weapon. Yixing had snatched it away and thrown it out. Yixing threw the middle-grade spirit weapon and said, "The Dark Nether young master is nothing more than this." The surrounding area was silent. All the cultivators were shocked by Yixing's performance. They never expected that Yixing would have such powerful physical strength. He was even stronger than the Dark Nether young master when he used his astrology. It was shocking. Although after a cultivator became a martial sage, they would no longer cultivate their corporeal body and would instead focus on cultivating their celestial essence. A powerful corporeal body was almost like an external force for a cultivator above the martial sage realm. But in any case, the physical body was one's own strength and not a true external force. Many of the younger generation martial artists were envious of Yixing's powerful physical strength. "How dare you!" The sect leader of the Xianming sect, Mingli, came to his senses. Seeing that young Master Dark Nether was heavily injured, he was enraged and shouted, "Little bastard, how dare you injure my Xianming sect's disciple? You're courting death." Young Master Dark Nether was the #1 genius of the mysterious Nether sect in the past 300 years. The sect master of the mysterious Nether sect had spent a lot of effort on him and doted on him a lot. Now that he had personally witnessed the Dark Nether young master getting injured in front of him, how could he not be furious? The Dark Nether young master had a violent temper, a vicious character, and considered everything beneath his notice. A large part of the reason for this was because the Dark Nether sect's director had allowed him to act recklessly. The leader of the Tian Luo sect, Luo Zhan, said, "Are you a sore loser, underworld faction leader? If you can't afford to lose, why don't you admit defeat earlier? At least you won't lose both your wealth and your reputation." Luo Zhan wanted to cultivate Yixing to be Yixing's shield and to counter the Xianming sect. Mingli was furious, but Luo Zhan's words made him speechless. He could only swallow his anger. The Dark Nether young master stood up. Thinking about his previous bold words, his face was full of shame, but his eyes were filled with resentment. "Yixing, I'm not done with you." The Dark Nether young master roared in a low voice. He pulled out the middle-grade spiritual spear beside him and returned to the Xianming sect's area. One of the 4 judges, the Sun Moon sect's spiritual master, announced loudly, "The second round, Yixing versus the Thunder young master." According to the original plan, the second round was to be fought by young Master Dari so that the Dark Nether young master and young Master Dari could vent their resentment of being humiliated by Yixing in the Qingyun ancient land. However, the Dark Nether young master was defeated in the first round. Yixing's strength was obviously stronger than the Dark Nether young master. On the other hand, the Dark Nether young master's strength was similar to the Dark Nether young master's, so it was likely that he would be defeated. Therefore, the Thunder young master and Yixing would fight first to exhaust Yixing's physical strength. The Sun Moon sect's spiritual master planned to let young Master Dari fight in the third round. Chapter 321. The Thunderbolt young master came to the center of the field and faced Yixing from afar. Previously, the Thunderbolt young master was looking forward to fighting with Yixing as soon as possible to avenge the humiliation he suffered in the Azure Cloud ancient land. However, when it was time to fight with Yixing, his eyes were filled with fear. Even though he thought he was stronger than the Dark Nether young master, he had no chance of winning against Yixing. Yixing sized up the Thunderbolt young master. In his opinion, the Thunderbolt young master should be the strongest among the younger generation besides the Enyang young master and Tianlua young master. It was because the Thunderbolt young master had cultivated the Thunder attribute inheritance. The Thunder attribute martial arts were extremely ferocious and powerful. In addition to his martial arts talent, other than the Enyang young master, who had outstanding combat strength, who could suppress him, young master Tianluo should only be able to defeat him by relying on his cultivation. If their cultivation bases were on the same level, Tianluo young master might not be a match for the Thunderbolt young master. Naturally, the other young masters would be weaker than the Thunderbolt young master. The reason why Yixing came to this conclusion was firstly because the Thunder martial skill was indeed powerful. Secondly, in the Azure Cloud ancient land, when the Thunderbolt young master and the Enyang young master were fighting for the upper grade spiritual martial gloves, the Thunderbolt young master was only at a slight disadvantage. That was enough to prove the Thunderbolt young master's power. However, even if he was facing the Enyang young master, Yixing was not afraid at all. As for the Thunderbolt young master, he was just a little more alert. The Thunderbolt young master sized up Yixing for a while and said, "Yixing, let's settle this in one move." The Thunderbolt young master's martial skill was ferocious. As the saying went, hard cannot last long and soft cannot be defended. He was not suited for a long battle. He liked to attack quickly and fiercely. This was especially true for a move that erupted with all his strength. It was especially terrifying. If he could not defeat Yixing with a single move, then the chances of him winning would be very low if he continued to fight. Therefore, young Master Thunderclap had limited himself to one move. He did not want to lose face again if he lost. Yixing nodded. "Sure, we'll decide it in one move." The Thunderbolt young master's forte was to clash head-on. This was also the forte of Yixing's fleshly body. Yixing's fleshly body could almost sweep away 9-star martial saints. Although the Thunderbolt young master was strong, he was not stronger than a peak 9-star martial saint. Yixing was confident of defeating him in one move. Besides, Yixing could use his superbrain to scan his opponent and search for the openings in his opponent's moves. If his opponent was really so strong that Yixing could not defeat him in one hit, Yixing could attack his opponent's openings to ensure that he would not lose. Yixing's goal in this 10 sects grand tournament was to be number 1. He had to win all the way and not draw with anyone. Seeing that Yixing agreed to decide the battle in one move, the Thunderbolt young master was overjoyed. He said, "Good. Your fleshly body is very strong, but I don't know if you can withstand this thunderlight break of mine." As he spoke, a ray of starlight shot out from between the Thunderbolt young master's eyebrows and turned into a huge star suspended in the sky. This star was ordinary, but there was something unusual about it. The entire star was flashing with lightning. This was a lightning-attributed star. The Thunderbolt young master cultivated lightning-attributed inheritances, lightning-attributed martial arts, and possessed a lightning-attributed astrology. His strength was indeed extraordinary and could sweep away those of the same level. Other than the Yin-Yang young master, even the other young masters of the same level were slightly inferior to him. Everyone's attention was focused on the battle between Yixing and the Thunderbolt young master. The fleshly body strength that Yixing had just exploded was really terrifying. However, the Thunderbolt young master's strength was not something that the Dark Nether young master could compare to. Moreover, the Thunderbolt young master's specialty was his ferocity. Would Yixing be able to withstand the Thunderbolt young master's strongest attack? After a few breaths, the Thunderbolt young master did not attack. Instead, he frowned and looked at Yixing. He said, "You're not going to use your astrology." Yixing said, "Astrology can't enhance the fleshly body's strength. Why should I use it?" The Thunderbolt young master said, "You can use your celestial essence and the power of your astrology to complement your fleshly body's strength. That way, you can erupt with a greater power." Yixing said indifferently, "No need." The Thunderbolt young master's face turned solemn. His eyes narrowed as he shouted, "Then don't say that this young master is bullying you with the power of the astrology. Lose for me." Thunderbolt, Light, Break. Thunderbolt Break was the ultimate move of the Thunder Rush Palm. The Thunderbolt young master's attainment in the Thunder Rush Palm had reached the major completion stage. Its power was not to be underestimated. Especially when combined with the lightning-attributed astrology, this move was even more terrifying. At this moment, lightning flashed on the Thunderbolt young master's body. Suddenly, his body shone brightly. The lightning-attributed astrology poured down a massive amount of lightning-attributed stellar force. The Thunderbolt young master condensed it in his palm and slammed it toward Yixing. Boom! With a loud explosion, the void shook violently. The Thunderbolt young master turned into a bolt of lightning and shot toward Yixing in an instant. At the front of the bolt of lightning was the Thunderbolt young master's palm. It instantly shattered the airflow in the void and formed a shockwave that was visible to the naked eye. Yixing's pupils shrank. This move was indeed powerful and peerless. Whether it was the lightning-attributed celestial essence, lightning-attributed martial arts, lightning-attributed stellar force, or the thunder momentum, all of them fused together and erupted with a horrifying power in a short time. If Yixing fought with the Thunderbolt young master head-on, not only would he not be able to defeat him with just the power of his fleshly body, but he would also not be able to gain any advantage. At the critical moment, Yixing quickly stepped back. At the same time, he activated his super brain to scan. Yixing's wind momentum had reached the minute's subtlety. Coupled with the consummate heavenly bat steps, he could move within a small range. It was almost like teleportation. His body flickered and retreated dozens of meters. Yixing's retreat was beyond the Thunderbolt young master's expectations. Moreover, the speed of his retreat was so fast that the Thunderbolt young master could not react in time. The power contained in this palm strike burst out in full force. A big pit instantly appeared where Yixing stood. Moreover, the power of this palm strike continued to move forward. It carried a horrifying shockwave as it continued to attack forward. Yixing retreated dozens of meters. He could not completely avoid the thunder light break. However, the moment the thunder light break erupted, its power would be at its strongest. After that, it would gradually weaken. Even though Yixing had only retreated dozens of meters, the thunder light break still blasted a distance of dozens of meters in the blink of an eye and arrived in front of Yixing. However, Yixing had already avoided the strongest point of this move. Moreover, he had already found the flaw of this move. Boom! Yixing blasted out a punch. An overbearing flood dragon's phantom flashed and integrated into Yixing's fist. The void in front of Yixing suddenly exploded under Yixing's punch. The shockwave caused by the thunder light break dissipated in an instant. However, a new shockwave appeared in front of Yixing's fist. Bang! In the blink of an eye, Yixing's fist collided with the Thunderbolt young master's palm. The terrifying power collided with each other, resulting in a deafening explosion. Electric arcs splashed out in all directions and collapsed in an instant. The Thunderbolt young master spat out a mouthful of blood and instantly flew backwards. When the Thunderbolt young master's move was at its strongest, Yixing had managed to avoid it. Now that its power had weakened, Yixing had also managed to hit the flaw. Therefore, he naturally could not compete with Yixing's punch. However, when the Thunderbolt Young Master's lightning-attributed celestial essence landed on Yixing's fist, it made Yixing feel very uncomfortable. He immediately retracted his fist as if he had received an electric shock and took a few steps back. As the electric arcs rushed into Yixing's fist, Yixing immediately felt a sharp pain as if he was being pricked by countless needles. If Yixing had worn a glove or a spirit weapon, it would have blocked the pain of the electric shock. Compared to Yixing, who only took a few steps back, the Thunderbolt Young Master was in a much more miserable state. He retreated dozens of meters before falling back again and again. In the end, he could not stabilize his body and fell to the ground. After the two exchanged a move, Yixing only took a few steps back. However, the Thunderbolt Young Master was sent flying dozens of meters away and even spat out a mouthful of blood. Since it was decided in one move, it was clear who the winner and who the loser was. The Thunderbolt Young Master's injuries were much lighter compared to the Dark Nether Young Master. Therefore, he immediately got up. "You won. I accept my loss wholeheartedly." The Thunderbolt Young Master cupped his fists and said. There was no longer any arrogance on his face. Even his resentment towards Yixing had greatly reduced. Yixing had defeated him with just his physical strength. This proved that Yixing was even more monstrous than him. How could the Thunderbolt Young Master still be unconvinced? Yixing nodded towards the Thunderbolt Young Master. This person's bearing was much stronger compared to the Dark Nether Young Master. Everyone saw that Yixing had won another round. Although they had expected it, they still couldn't help but exclaim. Yixing's strength was indeed formidable. Among the young masters, only the Yin Yang Young Master and the Tian Luo Young Master could fight against him. Although the Great Sun Young Master hadn't fought with Yixing yet, everyone knew that the Great Sun Young Master's strength was slightly inferior to the Thunderbolt Young Master. He definitely wasn't a match for Yixing. Chapter 322. After the Thunderbolt Young Master stepped down, the Celestial Net Sect's judge spoke. "Yixing, you fought 2 rounds in a row. Go and rest." Yixing nodded. Although he hadn't used his celestial essence and hadn't consumed much of his energy, he didn't feel tired. However, there was no need for him to take turns fighting others. Yixing was about to step down when the Sun Moon Sect's judge said, "Wait, you haven't even used your celestial essence. How can you be exhausted? Why are you in such a hurry to step down?" The Celestial Net Sect's judge said, "He has fought 2 rounds in a row. He should step down and rest. If he fights 3 rounds in a row, wouldn't he be taking turns fighting others?" The Sun Moon Sect's judge said, "If he has consumed too much of his energy, he shouldn't be fighting. However, he hasn't used his celestial essence yet. Let alone 3 rounds in a row, even 4 rounds in a row wouldn't be a problem. No need to be long-winded. For the 3rd round, your Celestial Net Sect's Luo Lai will fight." The Profound Underworld Sect's judge said, "Yang Nan Spiritual Master is right. Yixing, continue fighting." The Celestial Net Sect's judge still wanted to argue, but Yixing raised his hand and interrupted, "I haven't consumed much of my energy in the first 2 rounds. If you want me to continue, then let's fight. However, it's only the 3rd round. Don't you think it's too early to let young Master Tian Luo be my opponent?" The Celestial Net Sect's judge said, "None of your Sun Moon Sect's geniuses have moved. How about this, Luo Ying, you go up for this round." Luo Ying didn't go up. Instead, she said, "I'm not Yixing's opponent. I admit defeat." Even the Dark Nether Young Master and the Thunderbolt Young Master were defeated by Yixing. Luo Ying was certainly not Yixing's opponent. Her admitting defeat was expected by everyone. The Celestial Net Sect's judge said, "Yixing has fought 3 rounds. You can go down and rest now." The Sun Moon Sect's Enlightened Master said, "You didn't make a move in the 3rd round. How can this be considered 3 consecutive rounds? Let's continue. Yonggan, you're up for this round. Then, this person immediately sent a true essence sound transmission to young Master Great Sun Yonggan. Yixing must have had a fortuitous encounter in the Blue Cloud ancient land that allowed him to enhance his body strength to such a degree. The power of his celestial essence shouldn't be much. After defeating Yin Fan and Lei Bao, he should have consumed a lot of his physical strength. Seize this opportunity and defeat this boy. Young Master Great Sun nodded slightly, and with a leap, he landed in front of Yixing. Young Master Great Sun's eyes flashed with a sharp light, locking onto Yixing's body. His true essence sound transmission echoed in Yixing's ears. You're just relying on your fortuitous encounter to strengthen your body. However, I don't believe that your energy is limitless. You must have used up a lot of energy to defeat the Dark Nether Prince and the Thunder Prince. Now, let me take care of you. A crimson spear appeared in young Master Great Sun's hand. It was a mid-grade spirit weapon. Holding the mid-grade spirit weapon, young Master Great Sun slammed it on the ground, his mouth revealing a faint smile. Yixing looked at young Master Great Sun indifferently, walking forward step by step. Even if I consumed a lot of energy to defeat the Dark Nether Prince and the Thunder Prince, it's more than enough to deal with you. The smile on young Master Great Sun's face froze. In fact, he was very afraid of Yixing. His strength was comparable to the Dark Nether Prince, but the latter couldn't even block a single punch from Yixing. If Yixing didn't consume much energy in the battle with the Dark Nether Prince and the Thunder Prince, then it would be difficult for young Master Great Sun to be Yixing's opponent. However, young Master Great Sun didn't believe that Yixing didn't consume much energy after defeating 2 young Master Geniuses in a row. In a battle between masters, when victory was decided in a single move, that single move often contained the majority of a martial artist's mind and energy. Every move would consume a great deal of energy. Yixing had defeated the Thunderclap young master with a single move. With this thought, young Master Great Sun's heart relaxed, and he said, "This young master wants to see how you can defeat me easily, humph. Today, you will be defeated by this young master's solar flame spear." Whoosh! As he spoke, a ray of starlight shot out from between young Master Great Sun's eyebrows, forming a giant flaming star above him. High-grade celestial form, Earth Flame. Among the 5 element celestial forms, the most common were the 5 elements. However, among the 5 element celestial forms, the water and fire element celestial forms were the most common. Among them, the fire element celestial forms were far more common than the water element celestial forms. On average, 1 out of 5 martial artists would have a fire element celestial form, and so on. Even among the martial Dao geniuses, fire element celestial forms were more common. Young Master Great Sun didn't dare to underestimate Yixing, and he didn't launch any probing attacks. Before the battle, he had already used his celestial forms. Extreme Sun Birth Flame, kill! Young Master Great Sun shouted. In an instant, an endless amount of fire element celestial forms rained down, illuminating the mid-grade spiritual spear. It was incomparably dazzling, and no one dared to look directly at it. Whoosh! Young Master Great Sun thrust out his spear, and the spear light was as dazzling as a blazing sun. When this blazing sun reached its peak, it suddenly burst into blazing flames, and the terrifying heat almost destroyed everything in front of it. Extreme Sun Birth Flame was one of the ultimate moves of the Solar Flame Spear, a mid-grade spiritual martial art. It was an extremely powerful fire element martial art. Young Master Great Sun cultivated a fire element cultivation technique, possessed a fire element celestial body, and was able to use a fire element martial art. Moreover, he had also comprehended the fire element force. The power of this spear attack was unimaginably terrifying. However, a trace of disdain flashed across Yixing's eyes. Among the various elements, the one he was least afraid of was the fire element. Playing with fire in front of him was simply asking for humiliation. Facing young Master Great Sun's spear attack, Yixing didn't dodge or retreat. Instead, he moved forward and reached out his hand to grab young Master Great Sun's extreme sun birth flame. All the martial artists were stunned. Directly grabbing with his hand. When Yixing blocked young Master Dark Nether's spear attack, he had only used his hand to cut across the side of the spearhead. But now, Yixing was directly grabbing the spearhead. This really shocked all the martial artists. Could it be that Yixing was going to use his bare hands to fight against young Master Great Sun's mid-grade spiritual spear? This was impossible. No matter how strong one's body was, it couldn't be as tough as a spiritual weapon. If this attack landed, young Master Great Sun's mid-grade spiritual spear would pierce through Yixing's palm like tofu. Unless he was a true master of the astral realm, who could condense his astral energy and turn it into a weapon, then he would be able to block the attack of a mid-grade spiritual weapon. However, this wasn't about the body, but the astral energy. Yixing was only a 7-star martial saint, and it was impossible for him to have astral energy in his body. Therefore, the martial artists couldn't figure out how Yixing was going to block young Master Great Sun's powerful spear attack with his bare hands. The bewilderment in everyone's hearts only lasted for a split second before Yixing's palm collided with the fiery spearhead. At this moment, a shocking scene occurred. The blazing flames at the tip of the spear were actually pushed back by Yixing's palm, and in the blink of an eye, they were sent flying back towards young Master Dao. This attack was simply amazing. Young Master Great Sun was shocked. The fiery spear's counterattack was exactly the same as the strength of his spear attack. The strength of the attack was equal to the strength of the counterattack. Naturally, young Master Great Sun's body paused, and his mid-grade spiritual spear also paused for a moment. As for Yixing, Yixing's palm grabbed forward, passed over the spearhead, and grabbed the spear shaft. The current scene was extremely similar to the battle between Yixing and young Master Dark Nether. With the spear shaft in Yixing's hand, regardless of whether young Master Great Sun stabbed forward or retracted the spear, it didn't move an inch. "Get out of my way!" Yixing shouted loudly, grabbed the mid-grade spiritual spear, and pulled it behind him. Young Master Great Sun couldn't let go of the spear in time, and his body immediately rushed towards Yixing along with the mid-grade spiritual spear. This scene was exactly the same as when Yixing fought with young Master Dark Nether. Young Master Great Sun had just watched the battle between Yixing and young Master Dark Nether. How could he not be aware of the current situation? He was scared out of his wits, and quickly let go of the mid-grade spiritual spear in his hand. However, it was too late. Yixing's legs were so fast that they were without a shadow, and he had already kicked forward repeatedly. This was a low-grade martial skill among ordinary martial skills, a shadowless kick. However, the power of the shadowless kick was astonishing, and it kicked the genius young Master Great Sun directly. Puff! Young Master Great Sun spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was kicked away by Yixing, and he let out a shrill scream. Young Master Great Sun flew for more than 10 meters before he fell to the ground. He rolled a few times before his body came to a stop. He struggled for a while, but he couldn't get up, just like young Master Dark Nether. Yixing threw the mid-grade spiritual spear over, and it landed right beside young Master Great Sunday. He said, "It's more than enough to deal with you. I'm not in a good condition today. My head hurts a little, so I won't update today. I'll continue tomorrow. My monthly votes have rushed into the top 6 of the Xuanhuan world. Thank you brothers for your support. Good job. Thank you, and I hope you can keep it up. Also, brothers and sisters, please vote for me for free. Don't waste it." Chapter 323. Ding. The middle grade spiritual spear was stabbed into the ground beside young Master Dari. The body of the spear trembled and buzzed. Even though the martial artists had expected that Yixing's strength was above young Master Dari's, they were still shocked. Yixing had defeated young Master Dark Nether and young Master Thunderbolt consecutively, but he still had enough strength to defeat young Master Dari in the blink of an eye. This meant that Yixing was still full of energy after 2 battles. Looking at young Master Dari, who had fallen to the ground, the face of the judge of the Sun-Moon sect darkened. He had purposely allowed Yixing to fight 3 consecutive battles in order to exhaust Yixing's strength so that young Master Dari could obtain victory. Who would have thought that this would happen? Among the top 9, 3 of the 5 young masters had already been defeated by Yixing. Didn't this mean that Yixing would definitely enter the top 3? Even if he lost to the Yin Yang Master and Tian Luo Master in the later battles, he would still be ranked 3rd. This was because the other 8-star martial saints were no match for Yixing. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect had proposed the point competition so that the young masters could defeat Yixing and humiliate Yixing. However, the results were out of his expectations. The 3 young masters had been defeated by Yixing and had become Yixing's stepping stones. This time, even if Yixing only ranked 3rd, he would still be the most dazzling cultivator of the competition because the Yin-Yang young master was expected to be the champion. However, if Yixing was in the top 3, he would be considered a rising genius and break the record of the 6 southern sects that had existed for hundreds of years. Humph. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect snorted angrily. The judge of the Dark Underworld sect was also unhappy. Yixing's rise did not benefit the Dark Underworld sect at all. As for the judge of the Tian Luo sect, his face was full of smiles. Yixing's performance had made him extremely happy. Yixing was only a 7-star martial sage, but he had defeated 3 8-star martial sages consecutively. His battle prowess was comparable to the Yin-Yang young master. Compared to the Yin-Yang young master, Yixing was only inferior in terms of cultivation. Although most cultivators did not know what Yixing's heavenly fate was, from the fact that Yixing had become a 7-star martial saint at the age of 17, his heavenly fate should be extremely high. The Yin-Yang Gongzi was a 6-star heavenly fate saint and had become a 7-star martial saint at the age of 20. However, the martial artists of the Falling Star sect knew that Yixing was only an ordinary heaven's mandate. The rise of Yixing's cultivation was attributed to his destiny and lucky chances. The heaven's mandate could not restrict him at all. Of course, Yixing's destiny wasn't as low as the Falling Star sect martial artists knew, nor was it as high as other martial artists guessed. His current destiny was that he had swallowed Sir Watanabe's destiny, a 3-star yellow destiny. The judge of the Tian Luo sect said, "Yixing, you have already fought 3 rounds in a row. Go and rest first." Yixing nodded and returned to the area where the Falling Star sect martial artists were. This time, the judge of the Sun-Moon sect had no excuse to keep Yixing from fighting. Moreover, even if he kept Yixing to continue fighting, the other 8-star martial sages would not be able to threaten Yixing. Even if Yixing was defeated by the Yin-Yang young master and the Tian Luo young master, entering the top 3 would still be a matter of time. Therefore, it was useless to keep Yixing to continue fighting. When the martial artists of the Falling Star sect saw that Yixing had returned, regardless of whether they were seniors or juniors, they were all wild with joy. Yixing had given them too much of a surprise. He had actually defeated 3 young masters in a row and secured a spot in the top 3. This was an honor that the Falling Star sect had never had before. Even though Qi Jingyang and Wu Qinggang were very jealous of Yixing, Yixing had brought honor to the Falling Star sect. As a member of they were also very excited at this moment. Good. 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 Lu Tianyuan patted Yixing's shoulder and praised, "Yixing, you have indeed given us a big surprise. Since the establishment of our sect, no one has ever entered the top 3 in the 10 sects tournament." Haha, good. Ha ha ha, good job. We are all proud of you. Our Falling Star sect has never been so proud before. Qi Doxing, an elder of the War Pavilion, laughed loudly. He looked at Yixing with great admiration and said, "Yixing, you are only 17 years old this year. Whether it is fate or opportunity, this is your ability and the blessing of our Falling Star sect." With that, Qi Doxing glanced at Qi Jingyang and sighed, "If only I had a son like you." Ah. In his tone, there was a hint of disappointment in his tone. Qi Jingyang immediately lowered his head. The trace of affection that he had for Yixing because of the glory of the Falling Star sect disappeared in an instant and was replaced by an even stronger jealousy. Sect leader Lu, Yixing has secured a spot in the top 3. He has brought honor to our 6 southern sects. Congratulations to the Falling Star sect for having such a talented junior. Ling Xingyue, the sect leader of the Spirit Moon sect, said to Lu Tianyuan with a clasped fist and a look of envy in her eyes. The female disciples of the Spirit Moon sect looked at Yixing with stars in their eyes. Yixing had defeated 3 young masters in a row. This was too shocking for them. The martial artists of the Dongfu sect looked at the excited martial artists of the Falling Star sect. Their faces were ashen and their eyes were filled with sinister intent. After Yixing left the stage, the 10-sect grand competition continued. First, it was Luo Ying against Lei Yun. Then, it was Lei Yun against Ming Shuang. Lei Yun won 2 matches in a row. Besides the young masters, Lei Yun was indeed the strongest among the 8-star martial saints. However, Yixing had defeated 3 young masters in a row. Lei Yun had defeated 2 martial saints of the same level. This was not even worth mentioning. In the hearts of the martial artists, there was not the slightest ripple. Lei Yun fought 2 matches in a row and was arranged to leave the arena. Next, it was Luo Ying and Ming Shuang's turn. These were the only 2 female martial art practitioners among the 8-star martial saints. Furthermore, they were both good-looking. Their battle attracted the interest of many younger martial art practitioners. In the end, Luo Ying narrowly defeated Ming Shuang. After Ming Shuang left the stage, it was the Yin-Yang young master's turn. Luo Ying directly admitted defeat. The judge of the Sun Moon sect then arranged for Lei Yun and Ming Shuang to enter the stage. Naturally, the 2 of them also admitted defeat. The Yin-Yang young master had already won 3 matches in a row without making a move. He had obtained 3 points. However, in terms of points, Yixing was ranked first. He had already won 4 matches and obtained 4 points. The judge of the Sun Moon sect shouted, "Next, the Thunder young master." Although the Yin-Yang young master had won 3 matches in a row, he had not made a move yet. Of course, he would not end up like this. Since he had entered the stage, he could not lose to Yixing. Therefore, the judge of the Sun Moon sect arranged for him to enter the 4th match. In this 10-sect grand competition, Yixing had shone brightly. He had defeated 3 young masters in a row and had become a dark horse in the hearts of the martial artists. As for the Yin-Yang young master, he was publicly acknowledged as the number 1 junior in the Qingyun region. Before the Tian Luo young master defeated Yixing, the judge of the Sun Moon sect would naturally not allow the Yin-Yang young master to fight with Yixing. As for the battle between the Tian Luo young master and the Yin-Yang young master, it would not be carried out in advance. Tian Luo young master had broken through to the 9-star martial saint realm and stood out from the other young masters. In the eyes of the martial artists, Tian Luo young master was the only one who could threaten the Yin-Yang young master in this 10-sect grand competition. In the points competition, the 2 strongest experts had the rule of not meeting each other. The 2 kings would not be arranged to fight each other until the last match. Therefore, the battle between Yixing, Tian Luo young master, and the Yin-Yang young master would be fought by Yixing first. Then, the loser would fight the Yin-Yang young master, and finally, the winner would fight the Yin-Yang Young Master. It would be the final battle. After the battle between Yi Xing and Tian Luo Young Master, the loser would still be able to defeat the Yin-Yang Young Master. The martial artists did not even think about it. After a period of rest, the Thunderbolt Young Master had already recovered to his peak state. When he arrived in front of the Yin-Yang Young Master, his eyes were filled with battle intent. The martial artist's spirits were finally lifted. Since Yi Xing had defeated the three young masters, there would be another duel between young masters. Moreover, one of them was the number 1 junior, the Yin-Yang Young Master. The Thunderbolt Young Master said, "Yang Ming, you have always been known as the number 1 junior in the Qingyun region. However, we have never had a real victor. Today, I would like to see how much of your reputation is real and how much of it is fake." The Yin-Yang Young Master revealed a disdainful expression and said, "You are just a loser who was defeated by a 7-star martial saint. You are not qualified for me to use my full strength. To deal with you, I will use 30% of my strength." 30% of his strength. The Yin-Yang Young Master said that he only needed to use 30% of his strength to defeat the Thunderbolt Young Master. "My condition is not good. Let me relax for the next 2 days. Today, I will update twice. I will pay back the overdue updates. There will be more later." Chapter 324. When the martial artists heard this, many of them sucked in a breath of cold air. The Thunderbolt Young Master was the strongest among the young masters in the same realm. He was stronger than the Dark Nether Young Master and the Great Sun Young Master. Young Master Tian Luo was stronger than the Thunderbolt Young Master in the eyes of the martial artists because his cultivation was 1 realm higher than the Thunderbolt Young Master. It was obvious that the Thunderbolt Young Master's strength was extraordinary. However, the Yin-Yang Young Master said that he only needed to use 30% of his strength to defeat the Thunderbolt Young Master. How strong was the Yin-Yang Young Master? No one thought that the Yin-Yang Young Master was boasting. They were just shocked by his strength. Yi Xing squinted his eyes. He could feel that the Yin-Yang Young Master was very strong. It seemed that the Yin-Yang Young Master did not show his true strength when he fought with the Thunderbolt Young Master for the upper grade glove in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. The reason why he was only slightly stronger than the Thunderbolt Young Master was because he thought that was enough. Indeed, if Yi Xing did not snatch the food from the tiger's mouth, the Yin-Yang Young Master would be able to force the Thunderbolt Young Master to retreat and snatch the upper grade glove even though he was only slightly stronger than the Thunderbolt Young Master. Who would have thought that someone would come out of nowhere and Yi Xing would snatch the superior grade glove from the tiger's mouth in the end? Although the Thunderbolt Young Master was not as arrogant as the Dark Nether Young Master, he was arrogant. His strength was stronger than other young masters in the same realm. He had always wanted to challenge the Yin-Yang Young Master. Now, the Yin-Yang Young Master's words were filled with disdain. This made the Thunderbolt Young Master's face turn green. Flames of anger burned in his eyes. The Thunderbolt Young Master said, "Yang Ming, don't talk nonsense. When I fought with you in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land, you were only slightly stronger than me. I did not use my full strength then. You want to defeat me with 30% of your strength? Humph, that is a fool's dream." The Yin-Yang Young Master released a terrifying aura and said, "You will know if you try." A ray of starlight shot out from the Thunderbolt Young Master's glabella and turned into a thunderbolt star. It floated in the air and the thunderbolt star energy fell. The Thunderbolt Young Master was bathed in the lightning and his aura surged. The Thunderbolt Young Master shouted, "I want to see how strong you are. How dare you speak such big words? Take my move, Thunderbolt Break." The thunderous young master struck out with his palm. In an instant, his entire body charged towards the Yin-Yang Young Master. Boom! There was an explosion in the void as young Master Thunderbolt turned into a bolt of lightning. The lightning in front of him was condensed by a powerful bolt of lightning. It was exceptionally resplendent as it broke through the layers of airflow, forming a terrifying shockwave. Everyone's eyes were focused on this moment. The Thunderbolt young master unleashed his strongest attack. However, Yi Xing countered the Thunderbolt young master's attack and defeated him in a single move. Everyone wanted to know how the Yin Yang young master would deal with the Thunderbolt young master's attack. Would he be like Yi Xing, retreating and temporarily avoiding the attack? Would he counterattack when the Thunderbolt young master's attack weakened? The answer was instantly revealed. The Yin Yang young master did not retreat. Instead, he charged forward and faced the Thunder young master's thunder light break. Whoosh! The void in front of him shattered instantly as an extremely resplendent ray of light shot forward like a blazing sun. Middle-class spiritual martial art, Scorching Sun Finger. The Yin Yang young master's Scorching Sun Finger was extremely advanced. It was far beyond the great accomplishment stage and was almost close to the perfect stage. The intensity of the ray of light was like a real blazing sun, causing people to be intimidated. Moreover, this finger contained an extremely powerful fire force that was almost close to the intricate stage. It caused the power of this finger to multiply. Yi Xing was startled. He would not be able to block the Yin Yang young master's finger with just his physical strength. It was too terrifying. Bang! The bolt of lightning and the finger ray collided with each other and produced an explosive sound. Terrifying airflow surged in all directions. Lightning splashed and rays of light shot in all directions. The Yin Yang young master and the Thunderbolt young master's strength were determined at this moment. The Scorching Sun Finger was extremely resplendent and unstoppable. It scattered the lightning in all directions. The Thunderbolt young master's body shook violently and flew backwards. The Thunderbolt young master fell to the ground and a trace of blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with astonishment. He could not believe that the Yin Yang young master had defeated him with one finger when his thunder light break was at its strongest. The Yin Yang young master looked at the Thunderbolt young master on the ground and finally revealed a proud expression. He said, "This is your strongest move. You can't even withstand a single blow." The surroundings were silent. The Yin Yang young master was too powerful. Yi Xing had defeated the Thunderbolt young master and even avoided the moment when the Thunderbolt young master's move was at its strongest. However, the Yin Yang young master had defeated the Thunderbolt young master with one finger when the Thunderbolt young master's move was at its strongest. Comparing the two, the Yin Yang young master defeating the Thunderbolt young master was undoubtedly more shocking. Moreover, the Yin Yang young master had said that he only needed 30% of his strength to defeat the Thunderbolt young master. Did this not mean that the Yin Yang young master had only used 30% of his strength? The martial artists were shocked. Even the senior perfected persons revealed shocked expressions. If the Yin Yang young master unleashed his full strength, how powerful would he be? Many senior perfected persons judged that the Yin Yang young master's strength had already surpassed a 9-star martial sage and could compete with a half-step perfected persons. The Thunderbolt young master clenched his fists tightly. His face was filled with disbelief as he said, "I don't believe that you only used 30% of your strength." The Yin Yang young master chuckled and said, "It's up to you to believe it or not. Do I need to prove it to you? Which junior martial artist is qualified to make me use my full strength?" The junior martial artists were all silent. The Yin Yang young master's words were looking down on the Tian Luo young master. Regardless of whether it was the Tian Luo sect or the Green Thunder sect, the martial artists of the two sects did not look good. As for the martial artists of the Sun Moon sect, their faces were filled with smiles. They were very happy. The judge of the Sun Moon sect said, "Thunderbolt young master, you have lost. You may leave." Next, young Master Dolly. Young Master Dolly and the Yin-Yang Young Master were both disciples of the Sun-Moon sect. One was the second disciple, while the other was the first disciple. It was obvious that the outcome of the battle between the two had been decided long ago. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect had allowed young Master Dolly to fight so that he could add points to the Yin-Yang Young Master. As expected, young Master Dolly did not step forward. Instead, he admitted defeat. I am not a match for eldest senior brother. I admit defeat. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect smiled and said, the Yin-Yang Young Master has won 5 rounds in a row. He has accumulated 5 points and is ranked first. You may go and rest. Yixing had 4 points, while the Yin-Yang Young Master had 5 points. It seemed that the judge of the Sun-Moon sect did not want to let Yixing maintain his temporary first place. The Yin-Yang Young Master and the Thunderbolt Young Master both left the stage. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect said, Young Master Tian Luo, you may come up. The martial artist's eyes lit up. Another heavyweight was coming up. Although the Yin-Yang Young Master had said that none of the junior martial artists could force him to use his full strength, the crowd was still very interested in the battle between the two young masters. Now that young Master Tian Luo had entered the stage, they could finally see his strength. In the first 3 rounds of battle, young Master Tian Luo's targets were Lei Yun, Ming Shuang, and Luo Ying, the 3 8-star martial saints. Naturally, the 3 of them admitted defeat. Their strength could not be compared to young Master Tian Luo's. In the blink of an eye, young Master Tian Luo had won 3 rounds in a row. Since young Master Tian Luo had not made a move, he naturally would not be allowed to leave the stage. The judge of the Sun-Moon sect quickly arranged his 4th opponent. He looked towards the Falling Star sect and said, Next, Yixing. The martial artist's spirits were lifted. The battle between Yixing and young Master Tian Luo was coming up so soon. Young Master Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint. His cultivation was higher than the other young masters. Naturally, his strength was also higher. He was the 2nd strongest among the young masters. Yixing was a 7-star martial saint. He had a heaven-defying battle record of defeating 3 young masters consecutively. His strength was ranked at the top among the young masters. He could definitely compete with young Master Tian Luo. Then, between Yixing and young Master Tian Luo, who was stronger? Many martial artists were looking forward to the result of this battle. This was because the winner of the two would fight the Yin-Yang Young Master in the final battle to determine the 1st and 2nd place. Under the gaze of the crowd, Yixing walked out and stood in front of young Master Tian Luo. I'm a little tired. Brothers, please give me strength. I beg for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 325. Young Master Tian Luo quietly observed Yixing. After a long while, he said, I didn't expect to have a duel with you so soon. But it's fine. Anyway, we'll have to fight each other. It doesn't matter if it's earlier or later. We'll have to decide the winner. As Sir Tian Luo spoke, a shining spirit weapon appeared in his hand. This was a medium-grade spirit weapon. Of the 6 great young masters, Sir Tian Luo was the only one who hadn't had any conflicts with Yixing. Moreover, Sir Tian Luo had spoken out to help the disciples of Thi, so Yixing had a good impression of him. Yixing faintly smiled. I ask Sir Tian Luo to give me some pointers. Sir Tian Luo lifted the sword in his hand and said, This sword is called Cold Star. It is a peak medium-grade spirit weapon and is incomparably sharp. Yixing, your bare hands cannot block my sword. Take out the high-grade spirit weapon gloves you obtained in the Blue Cloud Ancient Land and put them on. Yixing nodded. He took out the blazing flame gloves and put them on. Yixing had obtained 2 high-grade spirit weapons in the Blue Cloud Ancient Land. One was the blazing flame gloves and the other was the black dragon spear. Seeing the blazing flame gloves in Yixing's hands, the surrounding martial artists, whether they were seniors or juniors, all revealed looks of envy. Some of them even had greedy eyes. A high-grade spirit weapon was an extraordinary treasure in the Blue Cloud region. Even for Astral Realm martial artists, 70 to 80% of them didn't have a high-grade spirit weapon, they only used medium-grade spirit weapons. But Yixing was only a 7-star martial saint and yet he had a high-grade spirit weapon in his hands. How could the surrounding martial artists not be envious? Whether it was the blazing flame gloves or the black dragon spear, both were treasures that aroused the greed of others in the Blue Cloud region. If no one knew that the blazing flame gloves and the black dragon spear were in Yixing's hands, then Yixing wouldn't have shown them in public. However, Yixing had obtained the blazing flame gloves and black dragon spear from the hands of the several young masters. Most of the junior martial artists that entered the Blue Cloud ancient land had seen this with their own eyes and had already reported this news to their sect elders. Yixing wouldn't be able to conceal it even if he wanted to. Since everyone knew that Yixing had the blazing flame gloves and the black dragon spear, these two high-grade spirit weapons, then, there was no need for Yixing to hide them. Sir Tian Luo was different from the other young masters. Yixing didn't want to fight him with his bare hands. Wearing the blazing flame gloves, Yixing could even face the attack of a high-grade spirit weapon head-on. After Yixing put on the gloves, he lifted his hands and said, "The blazing flame gloves are a high-grade spirit weapon." Of course, even if Yixing lost to Sir Tian Luo and was ranked 3rd, he would still be the most glorious person in this 10-sex tournament. His achievements would shock everyone. Sir Tian Luo felt the rebounding force from the cold star sword and the buzzing sound from the sword. He was shocked by the terrifying power of Yixing's punch. However, no matter what, Yixing's strength was still inferior to his. Sir Tian Luo's face revealed a victorious smile. This was the result he could accept. He was a 9-star martial saint. His cultivation was 1 realm higher than the other young masters. If he was defeated by Yixing, then other than the yin-yang young master, Yixing would trample all the other young masters. Although Sir Tian Luo had no grudges with Yixing and they were on the same side, as a young master, he did not want to become Yixing's stepping stone. Young Master Tian Luo smiled and said, "Yixing, your physical strength is indeed very strong, but you're not my match. There's no need to continue this battle, you're bound to lose." Yixing also smiled and said, "That is not necessarily true. Who said that my strength only comes from my physical strength? Until now, I have not used my celestial essence or spiritual martial force." The crowd was shocked. Listening to Yixing's tone, his celestial essence strength seemed to be even stronger. Didn't that mean that the result of the battle between Yixing and Sir Tian Luo would be confusing? Who was stronger and who was weaker between the two? In the hearts of the crowd, they still favored Sir Tian Luo. Sir Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint, 2 realms higher than Yixing. Moreover, he was a young master genius who could challenge people with higher realms. Although Sir Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint and could not challenge half-step Daoist masters, his strength was definitely at the top of the 9-star martial saints and could be called invincible. Most of the cultivators did not believe that Yixing could be Sir Tian Luo's opponent. Yixing's physical strength was so terrifying that it shocked the crowd. They attributed it to a fortuitous encounter. If Yixing's celestial essence strength was stronger than his physical strength, then it would be too abnormal. However, many people from the Falling Star sect and the Spirit Moon sect were looking forward to it. They all knew that Yixing could challenge people with higher realms. In the past, when his physical strength was not strong, Yixing could still fight people with higher realms with his celestial essence strength. But now, they could feel the confidence in Yixing's words and felt that it was very possible. Sir Tian Luo pointed his sword at Yixing. His aura was incomparably sharp. An illusory chi sword appeared in the sky and pierced the sky. Yixing's words made Sir Tian Luo frown slightly. He said, "You mean, your celestial essence strength is stronger than your physical strength?" Yixing nodded, "Of course." While speaking, Yixing's aura soared, and the surrounding air currents shook. The temperature around Yixing suddenly rose. Yixing's body exuded a terrifying flame power. His body emitted an illusory flame that distorted the air. The crowd of cultivators was shocked. What a terrifying flame power! Sir Tian Luo stared at Yixing. His sword momentum became stronger and stronger. He said loudly, "You are a 7-star martial saint and have the strength to defeat most 9-star martial saints. This is already the limit. Can your celestial essence strength be stronger than your physical strength?" "I don't believe it. I don't believe it." These 3 words reverberated in the void. As Sir Tian Luo's voice fell, a bright sword light instantly cut through the void. Sir Tian Luo had launched his strongest attack. Although the fist aura wasn't very strong and didn't seem to be condensed from celestial essence and couldn't be compared to an enlightened being's astral essence, the enlightened being seniors could tell that the strength of Yixing's fist aura was comparable to a half-step enlightened being's astral essence. A 7-star martial sage's attack had actually condensed astral energy. This was simply shocking. There was only one explanation for this. That was, Yixing had cultivated an upper-level spiritual martial force. An upper-level spiritual martial force required astral energy to be used. It was a powerful martial art that only enlightened beings could cultivate. However, astral energy wasn't the only requirement to use an upper-level spiritual martial force. If one had enough talent in martial arts and had cultivated an upper-level spiritual martial force before becoming an enlightened being, then when using martial arts, the upper-level spiritual martial force would condense the celestial origin in the body into astral energy. Yixing's fist art was the flaming astral fist, which was an upper-level spiritual martial force. His grand momentum of fire was subtle and he had the star fire seed in his body. When he cultivated the flaming astral fist in the Yama Fire Sea, it was twice the result with half the effort. That was how he succeeded in cultivating the flaming astral fist. At this moment, when he used it, the celestial origin condensed into astral energy, almost like an attack from a half-step enlightened being. Boom! The sword light and the fist aura collided with each other, creating a loud sound. The result was obvious. Yixing's fist aura had the upper hand in the battle. In an instant, the sword light was destroyed and the unstoppable fist landed on the cold star sword in young Master Tianluo's hand. The cold star sword made a crisp sound and was instantly bent into a half-moon shape. Young Master Tianluo's eyes were filled with shock. His body flew backward as if he was being attacked by several fierce horses. Exclamations were heard everywhere. No one had expected that Yixing's celestial origin strength was far superior to those of the same level. He could challenge those of a higher level. Compared to the strength of his body, it was only stronger. Young Master Tianluo was a dignified 9-star martial saint and one of the geniuses. Although he kept a low profile, he didn't pay much attention to opponents other than the Yinyang young master. However, he was sent flying by Yixing's fist. It was really unexpected. Young Master Tianluo retreated dozens of meters and landed on the ground. He took a few steps back before stopping. He looked at Yixing with a horrified expression and said in shock, "Upper-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Aura Fist. You have cultivated the Flame Aura Fist so quickly." Yixing had obtained the secret manual of the Flaming Astral Fist in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. In such a short time, Yi Xing had actually managed to cultivate the flaming astral fist. Young Master Tian Luo was truly shocked, and his voice was trembling. As a genius, young Master Tian Luo knew how difficult it was to cultivate an upper-grade spiritual martial art. Tian Luo sect had several upper-grade spiritual martial arts. With young Master Tian Luo's status, he was qualified to learn upper-grade spiritual martial arts. However, he had not learned any of them. Only when one became a half-step enlightened being and the celestial origin in the body began to transform into star aura, the difficulty of cultivating an upper-grade spiritual martial art would be reduced. Before becoming a half-step enlightened being, even a genius would find it difficult to cultivate an upper-grade spiritual martial art. Right now, Yi Xing was only a 7-star martial saint. He was still very far away from becoming a half-step enlightened being. However, he had cultivated the upper-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Aura Fist. This had caused a great impact on young Master Tian Luo. This kind of martial talent was simply heaven-defying. Comparing the two, young Master Tian Luo doubted whether he was a genius or not. Compared to Yi Xing's martial talent and heaven-defying fighting strength, young Master Tian Luo felt ashamed. Young Master Tian Luo laughed at himself and said, "Yi Xing, I have lost this battle. I have to admit that you are the most monstrous genius I have ever seen in my life. I am deeply impressed." Yi Xing cupped his fists and said, "Many thanks, young Master Tian Luo, for letting me win." In this battle, Yi Xing won and obtained another point. His total points were 5, tied with the Yin-Yang young master for first place. When the surrounding martial artists saw that young Master Tian Luo had directly admitted defeat, they were all shocked. Although Yi Xing had used Flame Aura Fist to force young Master Tian Luo back, young Master Tian Luo had yet to use astrology. In the eyes of the martial artists, even if Yi Xing's martial talent was heaven-defying and he had cultivated the upper-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Aura Fist, his attainment in astrology was not profound. Therefore, if young Master Tian Luo had used astrology, he might not have lost to Yi Xing. The outcome of this battle was related to the second and third place. It was the difference between a reward of 100,000 low-grade star crystals and a reward of 200,000 low-grade star crystals. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, young Master Tian Luo returned to the Tian Luo sect martial artists. An enlightened being elder of the Tian Luo sect said with dissatisfaction, "Luo Lai, this battle is related to the ranking and the reward. You did not use your full strength, why did you admit defeat so quickly? Even if Yi Xing's martial talent is monstrous and his combat power is shocking, he might not be your opponent now." Young Master Tian Luo stood beside the Tian Luo sect master and said, "Elder Ling Jun, you don't understand Yi Xing. Until the last moment, you will never know his trump card. Yi Xing also did not use astrology. Therefore, even if I used astrology, the chances of winning against him would be very slim. In my opinion, Yi Xing is more terrifying than the Yin-Yang young master." More terrifying than the Yin-Yang young master? Everyone in the Tian Luo sect, regardless of whether they were elders or juniors, were surprised when they heard young Master Tian Luo's evaluation of Yi Xing. Was Yi Xing really more terrifying than the Yin-Yang young master? Although most of them did not think so, it was undeniable that Yi Xing was really powerful. They wanted to know who was stronger between Yi Xing and the Yin-Yang young master. They were looking forward to the moment when Yi Xing and the Yin-Yang young master fought. Young Master Tian Luo's admission of defeat was beyond the expectations of the Sun Moon sect's judge, and it made him a little unhappy. He wanted to see Yi Xing and young Master Tian Luo use astrology to fight to the death, but the result was disappointing. Now that Yi Xing was standing in the middle of the arena, it was necessary to arrange for Yi Xing to enter the next battle. However, other than the Yin-Yang young master, who else could be a match for Yi Xing? The battle between Yi Xing and the Yin-Yang young master would definitely be the final battle of the 10 sects grand tournament. It was impossible to arrange for the two to fight now. Therefore, the next few battles could only allow Yi Xing to increase his points. Yi Xing's points were now 5, the same as the Yin Yang young master. If he increased his points, he would temporarily maintain the first place. This made the Sun-Moon sect's judge very unhappy. Although he was unhappy, the 10 sects grand tournament still had to continue. Other than the Yin Yang young master, Yi Xing's only opponents were Lei Yun and Ming Shuang. Obviously, the two of them had admitted defeat. Yi Xing's points rose to 7, temporarily occupying the first place, and he left the arena to rest. ______ I had a friend visit yesterday, so I went out to entertain and only returned home at 1:00 in the evening. I owe a chapter. Sorry, I will make it up today. Chapter 327. After Yi Xing left the stage, it was the other young master's turn to fight. The 3 ordinary 8-star martial sages admitted defeat in front of the young master's geniuses. The Thunderbolt young master's strength was indeed superior to the other young masters at the same level. He had defeated the Dark Nether young master and the Great Sun young master consecutively. After young master Thunder left the stage to rest, young master Tian Luo went up again. His opponents were young master Dark Nether and young master Great Sun. Facing the two young masters, young master Tian Luo displayed a shocking strength. One sword strike. Whether it was young master Dark Nether, young master Great Sun, or young master Tian Luo, all of them only used one sword. After young master Tian Luo and Yi Xing's battle, young master Tian Luo had been defeated by Yi Xing and had even admitted defeat. This had caused young master Tian Luo's status in the hearts of many martial artists to drop by a lot. However, no one dared to underestimate the strength that young master Tian Luo had revealed in front of the other young masters. After breaking through to the 9-star martial saint realm, there was indeed a world of difference between his strength and the other young masters. From this, it could be seen that Yi Xing was able to repel Tian Luo and force him to admit defeat. His strength was indeed terrifying. Tian Luo young master defeated 2 young masters in a row and went down to rest. Next up was Yin Yang young master and Dark Nether young master. The Yin Yang young master's strength was needless to say. Even if the Dark Nether young master used his astrology, the Yin Yang young master only needed one finger to defeat him. The grand competition was nearing its end. Only Yi Xing and Yin Yang young master and Tian Luo young master and Thunderbolt young master. The heavyweight battles were always at the end. Yin Yang young master went down to rest. The last 3 battles were between Tian Luo young master and Thunder young master. The Thunderclap young master had a very powerful thunder celestial essence. Among the young master geniuses with the same cultivation, he was the strongest. Young master Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint. Among the young masters, his cultivation was the highest. He was 1 level higher than young master Lei Ting. His strength was even more terrifying. All the warriors knew that young master Tian Luo was stronger. However, they also wanted to know how strong young master Lei Ting was. How much was the difference between them? This was because, regardless of whether it was the battle with Yi Xing or the Yin Yang young master, the Thunder young master had always been defeated in one move, making it impossible for others to determine the limits of his strength. Young master Tian Luo and young master Lei Ting faced each other from afar. The Thunderbolt young master had a serious expression and was on high alert. After being defeated by Yi Xing and the Yin Yang young master in one move, he swore in his heart that it would never happen a 3rd time. Whoosh! A beam of starlight shot out from young master Thunderclap's glabella and transformed into a lightning star. From the very beginning, Thunderbolt young master had used his astrology to raise his strength to the peak. His 2 palms were filled with electricity, and he was about to launch a thunderous attack on young master Tian Luo. Young Master Tian Luo raised his hand and the cold star sword appeared in his hand. A terrifying sharp chi burst out from his body. His eyes were like swords as they locked onto young Master Thunder. Thunder, light, break. The thunderbolt young master's aura had finally reached its peak. With a loud shout, he attacked the Tian Luo young master with his palm. He wore a pair of middle-grade spiritual weapon gloves on his hands, so he was not afraid of confronting Tian Luo's cold star sword head-on. At this moment, the gazes of the spectating cultivators were focused to the extreme. They stared at the field, unwilling to even blink. Young Master Thunderbolt's first move was a thunderous attack. When he fought with others, it was usually a single move. The Thunder Light Break was the ultimate move of the Thunder Rush Palm. Young Master Thunderbolt had used this ultimate move against Yi Xing and the Yin Yang Young Master, but he was defeated by Yi Xing and the Yin Yang Young Master in a single move. Now, how would young Master Tian Luo deal with young Master Thunderbolt's move? Would young Master Tian Luo and young Master Thunderbolt also be defeated in a single move? Would young Master Tian Luo be able to defeat young Master Thunderbolt in a single move? Everyone stared intently, wanting to know the answer. When young Master Thunderbolt used the Thunder Light Break to attack, young Master Tian Luo's entire body burst out with dazzling light. The sharp aura cut through the void like a sharp sword. Whoosh! Young Master Tian Luo took a step forward and sword light burst out. His body was like a sword light as he shot into the distance. With a step forward, his body was like a sword. With a flash of sword light, he switched positions. All the spectating cultivators' eyes lit up. It was sword steps. A powerful footwork of a swordsman. Only an outstanding swordsman could comprehend it, and its speed was extremely fast. Young Master Thunderbolt's Thunder Light Break was also very fast. However, it was a straight-line speed. Once the attack was launched, it was difficult to change its direction. Therefore, young Master Tian Luo took a step forward and switched positions instantly. Young Master Thunderbolt's palm naturally hit the air. Boom! With a loud explosion, the void in front of them exploded. If it wasn't for the remaining array of the Azure Cloud sect, there would have been a huge hole in the ground. Unfortunately, such a terrifying attack didn't even touch the corner of young Master Tian Luo's clothes. Young Master Thunderbolt's fist hit the air. He felt like an angry bull facing the empty void. He had strength but no place to use it. He was extremely depressed. His aura surged and his eyes were sharp. He searched for young Master Tian Luo's figure and prepared for the next thunderous attack. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, young Master Tian Luo's speed was extremely fast. Every step he took, there was a flash of sword light. He instantly switched positions and stopped at different places. Young Master Thunderbolt's head turned back and forth, but he couldn't lock onto young Master Tian Luo's position. Since he couldn't lock onto young Master Tian Luo's figure, he didn't have a target to attack. The thunderous attack that he prepared couldn't be launched. Even if it was launched, it could only hit the air. It was like punching cotton. Young Master Tian Luo continued to switch positions. The surging power that young Master Thunderbolt had accumulated decreased again and again. When young Master Thunderbolt's power decreased to a certain extent, young Master Tian Luo suddenly attacked young Master Thunderbolt with his sword. Whoosh! The sword light split the air. The void was like a mirror that was cut in half. The sword light flashed, and in the blink of an eye, a resplendent sword light had already arrived beside young Master Thunderbolt. Young Master Tian Luo didn't attack. Once he attacked, his power was like thunder and lightning. Although young Master Thunderbolt's power was formidable, his attack speed was also very fast. However, his reaction speed was his weak point. Young Master Tian Luo suddenly attacked while he was switching positions. The speed of the sword almost exceeded young Master Thunderbolt's reaction speed. Young Master Thunderbolt suddenly felt a sharp aura and felt a chill on his back. He didn't have time to push his thunder and lightning celestial essence to the strongest realm. He could only hurriedly cast the rushing thunder palm and shot it towards young Master Tian Luo. Boom! Since it was a hasty palm attack, the power of the rushing thunder palm at the grand completion realm was extraordinary. A loud explosion resounded in the void. However, young Master Tian Luo's sword was too sharp and terrifying. The sword light broke through the void and the rushing thunder palm split in half. In an instant, the protective celestial essence around young Master Thunderbolt's body was also torn apart by the sword light. Puff! Young Master Thunderbolt spat out a mouthful of blood and suddenly retreated before falling to the ground. That sharp sword light rushed into his body, like numerous tiny sharp swords rampaging through his meridians, flesh, and blood, causing him a burst of intense pain. For a while, young Master Thunderbolt couldn't operate his thunder and lightning celestial essence at all. Young Master Tian Luo's sword light flashed and appeared beside young Master Thunderbolt. The cold star sword turned into a cold light and pointed at young Master Thunderbolt's throat. Young Master Thunderbolt, defeated. The spectating martial artists breathed out a long sigh of relief. Young Master Tian Luo defeated young Master Thunderbolt with only one sword move. Of course, it couldn't be considered as defeating young Master Thunderbolt in one move. Young Master Tian Luo used the speed of his sword steps to dodge young Master Thunderbolt's strongest attack. Then, he slowed down young Master Thunderbolt's momentum and used his extreme speed to attack young Master Thunderbolt's sword move. This could only be regarded as using his own strength to defeat young Master Thunderbolt with minimal effort. Otherwise, young Master Tian Luo might not have defeated young Master Thunderbolt in one sword move. Yi Xing, young Master Tian Luo, and Yin Yang young Master all defeated young Master Thunderbolt with just one move. However, in the hearts of the martial artists, Yin Yang young Master defeated young Master Thunderbolt with just one finger when he was at his strongest. It was the most shocking and showed the strongest strength. Yi Xing retreated first and then defeated young Master Tian Luo head-on, second only to Yin Yang young Master. Young Master Tian Luo dodged many times, but he was second. After the battle ended, the spirit of the martial artists became even more uplifted. The next battle would be between young Master Tian Luo and Yin Yang young Master. Today's second watch is here. It's too late to finish the third watch. Sorry, yesterday's episode will be added to the total. I owe a total of 50 chapters. Tomorrow, I will work hard. It's a day of passion. Although I haven't updated well in the past 2 days, brothers, can you give me a free recommendation ticket? Today is Monday. The Archer God can't even appear on the recommendation list. He has already dropped to the bottom. Please give me a recommendation ticket. Because young Master Tian Luo changed his position too quickly, the three sword lights appeared almost at the same time even though they attacked at different times. They tore through the void and attacked young Master Yin Yang from different directions. Facing Tian Luo young Master's sword attack, Yin Yang young Master remained calm. He didn't even bat an eyelid as he waved his hand 3 times. 3 finger glows were fired instantly, shattering the 3 sword glows into pieces. Young Master Tian Luo had expected that the 3 sword lights would not be able to threaten young Master Yin Yang. Therefore, he did not attack him directly. Instead, he sent out sword lights from afar to harass young Master Yin Yang. Young Master Tian Luo knew that he would be at a disadvantage if he fought against Yin Yang young Master head-on, so he used his advantage to confuse Yin Yang young Master with his sword steps. However, Yin Yang young Master's reaction speed was much faster than young Master Lei Ting's. Young Master Tian Luo didn't dare to attack recklessly. Instead, he harassed Yin Yang Young Master first. When Yin Yang Young Master treated his attack as a form of harassment, Young Master Tian Luo would attack with all his strength at a certain moment. However, Young Master Tian Luo couldn't complete his plan. When Yin Yang Young Master shattered Young Master Tian Luo's sword light for the second time, his body suddenly turned into a phantom and shot towards a certain direction. Whoosh! Yin Yang Young Master pointed his finger. A dazzling light that was as dazzling as the scorching sun contained a terrifying power. Young Master Tian Luo used his sword steps to change his position. However, this time, Young Master Tian Luo changed his position to Yin Yang Young Master's attack position. Yin Yang Young Master's attack speed was too fast. The finger light arrived almost at the same time as Young Master Tian Luo's figure. No matter how fast Young Master Tian Luo's sword steps were, he couldn't avoid the attack. Young Master Tian Luo wanted to attack Yin Yang Young Master at a certain moment. However, he didn't expect Yin Yang Young Master to attack him first. Since he couldn't dodge, he could only block. His sword light was like a cold star. It burst out and collided with the finger light. Ding! A piercing sound was heard. Intense airflow splashed in all directions. The sound of something breaking through the void could be heard. Young Master Tian Luo's body suddenly shook. The cold star sword bent and shot backwards. Chi! Young Master Tian Luo's feet landed on the ground. However, he couldn't stop the terrifying power. In the blink of an eye, he was pushed back dozens of meters before he could stabilize his body. Many warriors who were watching the battle gasped. Yin Yang Young Master's attack power was terrifying. Young Master Tian Luo's swordsmanship power was obvious to all. However, he was pushed back dozens of meters by Yin Yang Young Master's finger. I'm not an idiot like Lei Bao. Your move is useless against me. Yin Yang Young Master sneered. He didn't give Young Master Tian Luo a chance to catch his breath. As he spoke, he used his scorching sun finger and continued to attack Young Master Tian Luo. The finger light was dazzling and scorching. It was like a scorching sun. People couldn't look at it directly. It contained a terrifying power. Whoosh! Facing Yin Yang Young Master's powerful attack, Young Master Tian Luo couldn't withstand it. A ray of starlight shot out from his glabella. He had used his astrology. A huge shining star floated above Young Master Tian Luo. It was a superior metal attribute astrology. It contained a terrifying murderous aura and a sharp aura. Terrifying metal attribute star power fell and was integrated into Young Master Tian Luo's sword move. Young Master Tian Luo's power multiplied, especially the sharpness of his sword light. It was terrifying. Wherever it passed, the airflow was cut open like tofu. Even Yin Yang Young Master's finger light was split apart by Young Master Tian Luo's sword light. Ding 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 ding, as the sword and finger collided, a series of crisp sounds rang out. Young Master Tian Luo used his astrology and his power was indeed incomparable. Not only did he block Yin Yang Young Master's scorching sun finger, he also gained the upper hand and started to counterattack. In an instant, there was only a terrifying murderous aura left within a few hundred meters. The sharp chi sword moved in all directions. It made people's hearts beat rapidly. Yin Yang Young Master retreated a few steps under Young Master Tian Luo's terrifying sword move. Many warriors were surprised. Was Yin Yang Young Master going to lose? Of course, most warriors didn't think so. Yin Yang Young Master had not used his astrology. His astrology was of the same origin as fire and water. It was extremely terrifying. In the eyes of the warriors, Yin Yang Young Master could only use his astrology to turn the situation around and have the hope of defeating Young Master Tian Luo. However, Yin-Yang Young Master's choice was out of the expectations of the warriors. Even though he was at a disadvantage, Yin-Yang Young Master still didn't use his astrology. Suddenly, a cold aura emerged from his left hand and he performed another martial technique. Middle-class spiritual martial technique, Cold Yin Palm. Yin-Yang Young Master was multitasking. He performed two martial techniques at the same time. The scorching sun finger on his right hand and the chilling yin palm on his left. Yin-Yang Young Master had cultivated both the scorching sun finger and the chilling yin palm to a very high level. He was only one step away from the perfection stage. These two martial techniques, one yin and one yang, complemented each other. When performed, their power was multiplied. Under the overlapping attacks of the scorching sun finger and the chilling yin palm, young Master Tian Luo's sword radiance was shattered. His sword move was torn apart by the terrifying power and instantly weakened. In just a few moves, the situation was completely reversed. The Yin-Yang Young Master had the upper hand. Scorching sun finger. Chilling yin palm. Yin-Yang Young Master was multitasking. The power of the two martial techniques was terrifying. Under the combination of his two martial techniques, he was even more powerful than the two Yin-Yang Young Masters. In less than 10 moves, young Master Tian Luo was defeated by the Yin-Yang Young Master's two martial techniques. The scorching sun finger shook off the cold star sword and the chilling yin palm pressed on young Master Tian Luo's chest. In an instant, young Master Tian Luo was frozen into an ice man and flew back dozens of meters. Yin-Yang Young Master had won 7 battles. Just like Yi Xing, he had accumulated 7 points. There was only one battle left in the 10-sect tournament, the battle between Yi Xing and the Yin-Yang Young Master. Whoever could win 8 out of 8 battles would become the champion of the 10-sect tournament. The loser would be ranked second. His recommendation vote had dropped to the 32nd place in the fantasy category. Could it get any worse? I beg for a recommendation vote. Chapter 329. Although the martial artists thought that the Yin-Yang Young Master was stronger, they were still shocked by the defeat of the Yin-Yang Young Master. The martial artists did not expect that the Yin-Yang Young Master would defeat the Yin-Yang Young Master without even using his astrology. The martial artists were amazed by the Yin-Yang Young Master's ability to multitask and display the Yin and Yang spiritual martial arts at the same time. Although the more a martial artist cultivated, the more powerful his mind became. It was not strange for a martial saint to multitask. However, it was too shocking to display two martial arts at the same time in a fierce battle. Most martial sages were capable of multitasking. However, they were only capable of multitasking and doing relatively simple things at the same time. The difficulty of executing martial techniques at the same time in battle was too high. Not to mention martial sages, even enlightened masters would find it difficult to accomplish. Moreover, the Yin-Yang Young Master's scorching sun finger and cold yin palm were martial arts of different attributes. When he displayed them at the same time, the star essence in his body would be divided into two attributes, which would conflict with each other. If there was no way to balance them, even if he had the ability to display two spiritual martial arts, he would not be able to display two opposite attributes. This was closely related to the Yin-Yang Young Master's astrology of the same origin of water and fire. Therefore, it was not only the Yin-Yang Young Master's talent, but also his innate condition. Most of the martial artists had only heard of the Yin-Yang Young Master's reputation and knew that he was powerful. However, they did not know how powerful he was. Today, they finally understood. The Yin-Yang Young Master could display two spiritual martial arts at the same time. His combat strength was superior to any other young master of the same realm. Coupled with his martial arts talent and the special astrology of the same origin of water and fire, the other young masters could not compare to him. After witnessing the Yin-Yang young master's strength, the martial artists felt relieved. Why was the Yin-Yang young master ranked first even though his cultivation was the lowest among the young masters? His monstrous talent was indeed a level higher than the other young masters. Young Master Tianluo was defeated and retreated. The battle came to an end. However, the martial artist's enthusiasm did not diminish. Instead, it surged and became more energetic. Because the next battle was the final battle of the 10 sets grand competition. It would determine the first and second place, which attracted the attention of the martial artists. Of course, the Yin-Yang young master had defeated young master Tianluo without using his astrology. His anger toward Yixing was not only because the Dark Nether young master and the Dark Nether young master were defeated by Yixing, but it was also because of the humiliation of being chased by the Fire Cloud Lion in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. The Yin-Yang young master was a peerless genius. He was a monstrous genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years in the Azure Cloud region. He did not even care about the other young masters who were as famous as him. No matter where he went, he would always be the center of attention. However, in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land, he was chased by Yixing's Fire Cloud Lion like a stray dog. The Yin-Yang young master engraved this grudge in his heart and swore to take revenge on Yixing. The Yin-Yang young master said, "Brat. It's finally your turn. You meeting me is like the winter snow meeting the spring sun. Your end is here. I will repay you tenfold for the humiliation you gave me, the Dark Nether young master, and the Dark Nether young master. Today, before everyone's eyes, I will torture you like a dead dog." The Yin-Yang young master's voice was bone-chilling. It was like a knife scraping against one's ears. It was very harsh. The martial artist's spirits were lifted. The duel between the two of them would not end as easily as the previous duels. The martial artists of the Sun-Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect revealed a sinister look in their eyes. They could not wait to see the Yin-Yang young master ruthlessly torture Yixing and wipe away the humiliation in their hearts. As for the martial artists of the except for Qi Jingyang, who was secretly excited, most of them frowned. Lu Tianyuan sent a celestial essence sound transmission to Yixing. "Yixing, you have broken the highest record of the southern 6 sects and won enough glory for our sect. The Yin-Yang young master will not take this battle lying down. If you are not confident, you can admit defeat directly to avoid being humiliated. Sect master, rest assured. Yixing knows what he is doing." After Yixing sent a celestial essence sound transmission to Lu Tianyuan, he said to the Yin-Yang young master, "You speak as if you are stronger than me. Torture me. Are you qualified?" Yixing's words made the expressions of all the martial artists stunned. Listening to Yixing's tone, it seemed that the Yin-Yang young master's strength was not enough to defeat him. This immediately attracted the interest of all the martial artists. They couldn't help but wonder whether Yixing was just spouting nonsense, or did he really have unimaginable heaven-defying strength? The Yin-Yang young master's face suddenly turned ashen. He regarded Yixing as an opponent on the same level as the Tianluo young master, so he didn't put him in his eyes at all. He thought that he could defeat Yixing without using his astrology. Therefore, the initiative of this battle was in his hands. He could torture Yixing however he wanted. However, listening to Yixing's tone, it seemed that he didn't put him in his eyes at all. The Yin-Yang young master looked down on Yixing and thought that it was natural. But when Yixing looked down on the Yin-Yang young master, the Yin-Yang young master felt as if he had been greatly insulted and suddenly became furious. The Yin-Yang young master said, "I am the #1 genius of the Qingyun region in 1,000 years. As an 8-star martial saint, my strength is comparable to a half-step perfected one. You are only a 7-star martial saint. Even if you have the same strength as me, you are still unable to withstand a single blow from me. You will be tortured like a dead dog. Yixing laughed and said, "Number one genius." A genius who has been surpassed can also be called the number one genius. Don't you think it's funny? The yin-yang young master said disdainfully, "You surpass me? Are you qualified?" The yin-yang young master copied Yixing's tone and returned the insult. Yixing was not angry. His expression was indifferent and calm as he said, "In terms of cultivation, you became a 7-star martial saint at the age of 20, and I became a 7-star martial saint at the age of 17. In terms of strength, I will let you know that there is always someone better than you. The number one genius, begging for a free recommendation ticket. Begging with tears. He performed an upper spiritual martial skill, Flaming Aura Fist, and faced the yin-yang young master's terrifying attack head-on. All the martial artists' eyes widened at this moment, their pupils dilated as they stared intently at the battlefield. As soon as the battle began, the two of them would actually engage in a head-on collision. Who was stronger and who was weaker would be revealed in a single move. Boom! The flaming aura fist collided with the scorching sun finger and the coldine palm, creating an earth-shattering explosion. A terrifying power of alternating hot and cold rushed over. Yixing felt like he was being charged by a wild horse. His body shook and he was instantly pushed back. In the blink of an eye, Yixing was pushed back dozens of meters. Luckily, his body was strong and he had already controlled his body in the air. After he landed, he took a few steps back and stopped steadily. He did not fall to the ground and was not injured. However, the martial artist still cried out in surprise. The yin-yang young master was so powerful. In one move, he had pushed Yixing back. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. This battle seemed to be a foregone conclusion. The yin-yang young master laughed disdainfully. "This is the power you are so proud of." As he laughed, the yin-yang young master rushed towards Yixing like a phantom. He attacked again with the scorching sun finger on his right hand and the coldine palm on his left. Third update, please give me a free recommendation ticket. His opponent's attack was so powerful that it was difficult for him to withstand it. Heavenly Bat Steps. Yixing decisively gave up on clashing head-on with the yin-yang young master. In an instant, his body moved like lightning and dodged to the side. Whoosh! At the same time, a ray of starlight shot out from between Yixing's eyebrows. In an instant, it turned into a blazing star that floated in the air. Yixing also used his astral form. His flame astral form had absorbed enough flame essence in the sea of flames. It had been raised to the limit of a superior grade astral form. The flame astral power it contained was extremely terrifying. In terms of grade, Yixing's flame astral form was a level higher than the yin-yang young master's water fire astral form. Above it was the superior grade astral form. However, in terms of power, the yin-yang young master's water-fire astral form was stronger. After all, the yin-yang young master's astral form contained two types of astral power. Water and fire were of the same origin. It was almost equivalent to two astral forms. All the spectating ancient martial art practitioners stared unblinkingly at Yixing and the yin-yang young master. Both of them had used their astral forms. This was already a battle of peak strength. "Kid, it's useless even if you hide. Once I use my water-fire astral form, even half-step perfected persons will have few opponents. Lose for me." Ha! After using the water-fire astral form, the yin-yang young master was full of confidence. He laughed maniacally as he attacked Yixing. 4th update, please recommend me. Keep up the good work, I'll give you the 5th update later. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.